Supercross races, this one is special. It is the longest of the Supercross tracks, sandy and rough, a minefield of potential disasters. Celebrating its 35th anniversary, it has hosted all the greats in American motocross history. Most of all, this is Daytona, dead center in the brilliant Bike Week racing spotlight. Victory here is always a dream come true. Of all the Supercross racers, this one is special. Back from injury, Ricky Carmichael is overturning all the preseason projections and rewriting the Supercross record book. His rivalry with reigning champ Chad Reed keeps the fans on their feet, and tonight he seeks an unprecedented achievement. Carmichael comes to Daytona in search of a record-shattering fifth straight win in this, the toughest Supercross race of them all. Once a year, Daytona International Speedway takes on a very different racing look. It's time for Supercross. The Daytona Supercross by Honda is round 10 of the AMA Supercross Championship Series, and we're proud to bring it to you tonight here on Speed Channel. Hello, everyone. I'm Dave Despain. What a night we're in for here as the focus shifts a bit. Yesterday, we had the production road racing. Tomorrow, we'll have the U.S. Flat Track Championship, the Superbike season opener, and the Daytona 200. But tonight, it's all about Supercross, and the Daytona Supercross is all about two things. This track, the longest and toughest on which they race all year, and one guy in the spotlight, Ricky Carmichael. He's the dominant rider in the sport tonight on this track that he loves so much, a track he didn't get to race last year because of injury. He'll try to do what no man has ever done, win his fifth Daytona. With fireworks in the background, we expect more of the same on the track, a sensational championship battle in the 125 class. And to bring you all of the action, Brian Drever, our AMA motorcycle play-by-play guy, has yet to win his first Supercross or national championship, but the 11 between them will more than make up for it as he's joined in the booth by our expert analyst tonight, Ricky Johnson and David Bailey. Guys, have at it.
Thanks a lot, Dave. It's certainly an honor, and whether it's going to be a pleasure remains to be seen. These guys might start fighting like they did back in the day. But indeed, you know, with 40 wins between them and 3 here at Daytona, I've got no shortage of expertise in the booth. And as little as I do know about Ricky Carmichael.
Definitely. Ricky Carmichael has come back with a vengeance. He loved this race. He wasn't here last year. Chad Reed did win the race, but it's 7-1. Ricky's won 7 races. Chad Reed won 1, and he came from behind to beat Ricky Carmichael.
Yeah, we've seen some great battles between the two, and the intensity has gone up so far that they've distanced themselves from the rest of the pack. They're lapping up further into the field than ever. And the styles are completely different. It's a little bit like you and I, Rick. You were more like just get it done, and I was trying to be smooth and stylish. And Carmichael is just whatever it takes, get it done. And Chad Reed is so smooth and stylish and fluid. Just makes you want to go out and ride. It's really fun to watch the difference of line choice and the way that they get it done. But they get it done, believe me.
Well, they've been getting it done all season so far anyway, and it's great to see both of them back in it. Take a look at the points championship and the way it stands. By 35 points ahead of Chad Reed is Ricky Carmichael. You can see, with all due respect to Windham, LaRocco, and Vuillemin, they're way far behind in the rivalry that everyone speaks about, and realistically it is between two men, Ricky Carmichael and Chad Reed. The first of them is standing by downstairs with Greg White.
Well, for Ricky Carmichael, he's going for 5 wins in a row at Daytona, which begs the question, Ricky, why are you so darn good here?
You know, it's just a man's race, and I've always put a lot of emphasis on being in shape and being a strong, somewhat outdoor rider when the track gets rough, and that's totally Daytona. And in it being a home race, I kind of have a really good attitude going into the event, so this place has been great for me.
Now, it seems to us anyway that you are, you know, a rider who likes to go out and win races. At this point in the season, when do you start racing for points?
You know, we just take every week, and I think we race for points of the first race. You know, that's where the championship starts. you can hurt yourself at the first race if you don't do good and make it, you know, tough for you throughout the whole series. So every weekend we take it one race at a time and try to take the least amount of chances as possible.
Well, Ricky Carmichael is certainly the standard by which all of the others are judged, but when you talk about the others, you begin with Chad Reed.
Definitely, Chad Reed, is, like we said earlier, has been the only guy to come back and beat Ricky heads up. He did 2 years ago in the race for the championship, even though Ricky came out with the championship, but Chad Reed is a stylish, finesse rider, but he did win here last year.
Well, he's definitely good in the sand. He won a GP in Europe in the sand. He lived in Holland for a year. He won here his first try in the 125 and last year. So I don't think he feels like an underdog or like this is Ricky Carmichael's track at all. He feels like he can get it done, and we're going to find out soon enough.
Well, the rivalry is so intense and so much fun that regardless of who does win here tonight, the fans will win. And many of them are behind the man who is now with Greg White, Chad Reed.
I guess the #1 question right now is, in a straight-up battle, you're the only one to beat Ricky Carmichael. What do you got to do to dig deep to beat this guy again here at Daytona?
I think I just need to do what I did in San Diego, which was race the track, race the lines that I'm comfortable on, and just do what I believe it takes for me to win. I think the other races, just little things have been holding me back, and that is frustrating, believe me. To know you have what it takes to win every weekend and, you know, get beat every weekend, it really sucks. But I've been working, you know, I'm not going to give up. This is far from over, and I'm going to challenge all the way to the end.
You seem like one of the few racers out here that just thrives with a lot of heart. When you go to sleep at night, when you wake up, when you're down training and you got a couple laps left in your moto, what is on your mind? Is there one person in particular on your mind that you just think about all the time?
No, I mean, I don't think about him every day, and he's not my motivation. My motivation is to become better myself and to get to the point where I feel like I've achieved what I want to achieve. And right now, I'm not achieving what I want to achieve. I'm getting seconds, you know, most of the season, and you know, that one win really helps me out. I believe I can win. I knew I could win, and it validated that I could, and I could come from behind, beat him from behind. And Daytona is a great race. It's tough. The track's technical. I'm really looking forward to it. He's known to be good here, and you know, I feel some part of me that I've been getting beat at my own game here. You know, I love Supercross. It's so much fun for me, and I've been getting beat. So he's an outdoor guy, and I want to go out there and then beat him up on his turf.
The 250 championship is not the only one featured here this evening, and Dave Despain alluded to a great championship battle in the 125 class. Grant Langston currently on top of the table, but not by much. He's being challenged by a bunch of riders, beginning with Davi Millsaps, a mere 7 points behind. But Grant Langston thus far has emerged as the man to beat by virtue of the fact that he's on top of the standings, and now he's with Greg White.
Grant, you've won World Championships, AMA National Championships, outdoor. Haven't really been known for, you know, great Supercross results. Now you come out and you're like 2 for 3. What's the story behind this Supercross resurgence?
I think, you know, the most important thing definitely was that I came in the season a little more prepared. You know, every year I've had some kind of a injury that's always held me back. So this year I was able to do all the training I wanted. I definitely think, you know, the switch to Kawasaki was good. You know, the bike's awesome. Gave me some motivation, and you know, I've just had some pretty lackluster season so far, and I think a lot of people are starting to doubt me, and I wanted to prove them wrong, and I knew if I came out swinging that, you know, it might change people's attitude a little bit, and you know, I'm just really happy with everything so far. You know, it's been great so far. You know, we're 3 rounds in, and you know, here in Daytona, so one of my favorite tracks. I'm really looking forward to, you know, the rest of the season, just hoping that I can continue the roll.
The challenge to Grant Langston, as we saw in the standings, begins with Davi Millsaps.
Yeah, Davi Millsaps very strong down here. He's a Florida boy. In the whoops today, he was a half a second quicker than Chad Reed and Ricky Carmichael, so he's definitely the man to watch.
You know, somebody that could surprise us all is Matt Walker. He's fast enough to get it done, And, you know, he's been so close to winning races. He wants to win so bad, and this just might be the place where it all comes together. He's a little bit off in his lap times this afternoon, but he's a gamer.
Once again, I'm going to remind you that no matter who wins here tonight or at the end of the season, we all come out winners because it's a great competition. Now, let's go back to our esteemed colleague, Mr. Dave Despain.
Thus far, Vincent Haskovic and Tommy Hayden have put their names in the Bike Week record book, but the fun continues. Tonight, you can see how rugged this racetrack is. Supercross, and then tomorrow morning, we will join you at 11 o'clock in the morning with Superbike racing, and we certainly hope you'll be here for that. We'll have the dirt track race spanning the gap to the Daytona 200. It's all part of Speed's continuing Daytona Bike Week coverage, and we're glad you're here to be part of it. Tonight's AMA Supercross and Speed Channel coverage from Daytona, brought to you by Honda, sponsor of the Daytona 200 and the performance leader in the world of motorcycle racing. And by Progressive Motorcycle Insurance. Call 1-800-PROGRESSIVE or visit progressive.com for a free quote. For the second year under the lights, in front of another huge Daytona crowd, we are set for action, ladies and gentlemen. We've set the stage. The preliminaries are complete. It's time to go racing. Let's go to the booth with Brian Drever, Ricky Johnson, and David Bailey.
Well, that's the moment we've been waiting for up here. Time to go racing indeed. Heat number 1, 125 East Supercross, getting set to go. And in this one, we have Davi Millsaps, number 188, for those of you keeping score at home. And as we look up the track, along with our onboard camera here, you're going to get an idea when this thing gets going just exactly what it's like to ride. Fellas, tell us a little bit about it before it does.
Well, we're sitting here looking at Brandon Jesselman at the gate. You know, they've done a great job here at Daytona getting the track prep. Gary Bailey's done an awesome job, but I have to take it to the people that put the lights in. Last year they had some troubles with it, but this year everything looks good.
And here we get going. Matt Walker with the helmet cam, and we heard David Bailey say he could surprise everybody. Well, he's going to have to get into this heat. Out of this, not this heat, but the next one. This one is featuring Davi Millsaps, who's second in the championship right now. And we've got some great action up front already as the number 37 has taken the early hole shot there. And it's going to be pretty good as we get going, fellas. Help me out here. You guys know better than I do.
That's both factory KTM riders. Josh Hansen, number 100, chasing his teammate. And that's Matt Gerke, number 77, just making a move to that rhythm section right there. Excellent timing. This kid hasn't been able to ride since his crash at the opening round, but what a great returns.
Yeah, he was one of the few riders that ended up falling into the stands. Pace's Clear Channel's changed their berm strategy because of it, but Gerke is doing a great job now pressuring Josh Hansen and now into the lead.
So into the lead, it just comes right back there as the number 100. Hansen takes it away. They go side by side, an intra-squad scrimmage between two KTM teammates.
Once again, Mills last year on the factory connection Honda, now on the factory KTM, doing a great job. He's been inconsistent, but he's one of those riders that's been very fast outdoors, and this Daytona track favors that kind of rider style. Now moving into the lead.
He just caught Hansen going a little bit wide, trying to set up for the triple.
And here comes Davi Millsaps down the outside. You can see number 188 goes from 4th now into 2nd position.
And the 77 of Gerke is still right there. So again, we should tell you that this heat race qualifies 9 riders to go to the main event. Correct, gentlemen?
Definitely. But the rider that we've been talking about is Davi Millsaps. He didn't get a very good start, but now all of a sudden in one lap, he's put himself in 3rd position, and he's got his sights set on those 2 KTM factory riders.
5th a lap ago, up to 3rd on the track right now is Millsaps, so keep an eye on him, the number 188, Davi Millsaps.
Well, I think what we're going to see is he's going to put himself in position to make a pass for the lead through that whoop section. That's where he's making up all his time. That's where he was fast in practice. It's going to be tough to get by both these guys, but I think he's got something planned. You can see that he's not following. Here they come around to the whoop section after the triple.
Well, some people might say, you know, why is the rider working so hard? He's in qualified position. Why not just hold it? But as David can contest, the fastest heat race winner gets the pick. And look where Davi goes. Right around the outside. And where does he end up? Only passes one rider, but now he's in 2nd place, right behind Josh Hansen.
Looked like he made a little bit of a mistake running the edge right there. Otherwise, he had a clean pass to lead. I think those guys can feel that they better have a gap on him before they enter that section, or they're going to get passed.
As we said earlier, that Davi Millsaps had the fastest time through the whoops, a 4.7 from entry to exit, and that was a half a second quicker than Chad Reed and Ricky Carmichael.
Millsaps without the greatest starts all season, and he's second here last year.
Hansen was trying to do a little block right there, and Millsaps was like, no, I'm already here, buddy. You better get out of the way. And I think that Hansen could feel that, decided, well, let me learn a little bit. You know, you don't have to win the heat race. The main event is what matters. Millsaps is obviously faster. Now he's going to get a look at the line and the speed that Millsaps approaches that whoop section with.
Hansen third here last year, Millsaps second. These guys are looking to improve on that when they get to the main, not if. Bill will continue looking at the action here for you as Davi Millsaps leads Hansen right now by a little bit of a margin. They lead the rest by a lot. The Daytona Supercross by Honda right now. It is the number 188 Suzuki of Davi Millsaps out in front right now, and he's gaining on his principal rival, Josh Hansen. We're going to go back a little deeper in the field and look at a terrific battle for third. Boniface, Mills, Smith, and Buckaloo all involved in it.
Yeah, all these riders are going back and forth. They're in qualifying position, but everybody wants to get as far forward as they can. As we talked about this track deteriorating like an outdoor track, the starting spot is very important. So at the end of the night for the main event, you want to make sure you have the best pick possible.
The top three guys right now are all running under a minute. A 59 that last lap for Boniface. He podiumed at Atlanta. He's been riding well. That certainly boosted his confidence. But a 57.5 for Millsaps. He's on fire. What he did in practice, he's able to do now in the race. Sometimes you can't do that, but he's been able to match it here.
Is this trying to get a psychological advantage as much as anything else? I mean, once you're in front, right?
Well, Davi's a young kid, and when you're 16 years old, I think he just turned 17, you don't care about psychological. You just go fast all the time. We're on the last lap.
Final lap, Davi Millsaps out in front. Hansen securely in second position, and then about 5 seconds further back is Steve Boniface and Ryan Mills and the rest. 9 to transfer to the main event, and this one looks like it's all Davi Millsaps as he heads west on the Daytona Supercross course. He'll come back towards the east, right to left in front of the grandstand to take the checkered flag. That's going to take a little while.
Taking a look at Buckaloo trying to make a move on Kelly Smith, but out front though, I was a little bit surprised that Hansen was able to stay as close to Millsaps. Millsaps caught those guys and put them away pretty quick, but they've been able to match the pace. And these guys are just, I think they're going, man, this track is going to be a mess come main event. I don't mean in a bad way, just rough, and the toughest guys and the ones that find the best lines the quickest are going to have a huge advantage.
Checkered flag coming up for Davi Millsaps. He has put his first win for the evening in the record book. There's only one more, and he'd like that one even better. So Millsaps, Hansen, and Boniface will be the top three. The transfer positions will go all the way down to 9th, and Millsaps is finished while the rest are going to try to get in. And it looks like the 9th and final transfer position is actually going to have a fairly easy time of it. The gaps were so large at this point that there really was no battle for the final transfer spot. Gerke gets it just behind Josh Grant. But there's Davi Millsaps, the winner of 125 Supercross Heat number 1. Great job by him, and as you said, David Bailey, he did in practice, and he backed it up with a performance like this in the race. Tremendous performance by him. And there are the results. Millsaps, Hansen, Boniface. Hopefully you see the name of your favorite rider in there, and you pick somebody to cheer for here in the Daytona Supercross by Honda at the Speedway, the world center of racing. Well, we're getting ready for even more action here. Again, 2 classes, 2 heats each. We've got all kinds of races for you leading up to the main event. You're going to stay right here, aren't you? Welcome back to the Daytona Supercross by Honda here at the Speedway. Let's go down to Greg White with the winner.
Davi Millsaps, wow, not the greatest start. Seems to be a rhythm with you this year, but you sure made it through. Tell me how you feeling right now.
Yeah, you know, I feel pretty good. I wasn't that bad of a start, actually. You know, I was what, top 5, I think. And, you know, just worked my way around the people and passed both of them in the whoops.
Well, congratulations. Let's get to the next race.
And it goes just as we speak. This one features Matt Walker, number 122. He'll be carrying an onboard camera on top of his head. Great start for the number 8 machine.
And with the 2 Monster Energy Kawasaki's out front, Grant Langston, and here Joaquin Rodriguez on the Factory Connection moving into second, and Walker actually dropping back a couple spots.
Walker wasn't able to do the triple. That really cost him. He's lucky he didn't get landed on. You can see the ruts already starting to develop in those whoops. There's the step on, step off, triple, and then double out. And even when you double out, you land in some potholes right there before you set up for this, up over that tabletop, so that it's getting more and more technical each lap.
But David, you know, we've watched Grant Langston. You know, he was a little inconsistent when he was on the KTM, crashing a lot and getting hurt. But I really think he's found a home here at Kawasaki. But now 248 is all over his back. I'm drawing a blank on who it is.
Donnie McGordy.
One of the amateur kids coming up. Wasn't that long ago. He was riding at Loretta Lynn's with Ryan Sipes and Tommy Hahn and Brock Hepler, and now look at him leading a heat race in probably the most prestigious Supercross out there.
But and I apologize to his family for not knowing his name, but I'm telling you, this kid came out from nowhere and passed the series point leader like he was standing still.
It's all these top amateur guys need is just a glimpse of the front, you know, to get a good start. Langston making a run at him, but it's great for McGordy to have a look at what it's like up there, and you know, if he can keep getting starts like that, he'll ride a little bit more relaxed in the future and stay there longer.
Running second, McGordy, a Florida guy, has probably got a lot of fans in the stands, and maybe they're cheering. You know, we certainly hear a lot of racket out there right now as we have an amateur rider coming up through probably the non-seeded riders to challenge the man who's leading the championship, and everybody else is way behind.
And Grant Langston passed him back in the whoops where that wasn't his strong point, where Davi Millsaps was making a lot of time on him there. So in the main event, we have the two guys that are at this point looking like they're going to win both heat races, have the fastest lap times as well. Grant Langston coming in with a 57.7, and Davi Millsaps had a 57.6.
And it is Joaquin Rodriguez in third position right now, but it continues to be Donnie McGordy from Floral City, Florida, riding a Honda, a Blackfoot Racing sponsored entry that's challenging in second position right now, although Langston seems to have found his rhythm and is opening a gap.
That was beautiful that time. You can see he got into that whoop section, and as soon as we saw that rut developing from Walker's helmet cam, he wheelied through that section so that he can't take the front end and yank it away from him and throw him off balance. So he seems to be able to bulldog his way through this stuff a little bit better. Grant, not known, as we talked about earlier, for his Supercross skills. You don't have to have perfect timing to be fast here at Daytona.
Yeah, Daytona's like Ricky Carmichael has said, it's a man's track, and you got to really work at it. And the track gets rougher and rougher and worse as the night goes on. Where most Supercrosses, they end up getting easier and easier because the bumps get broken down. Daytona, they get bigger and bigger.
Once again on board with Matt Walker, currently running in fifth position on number 122. And while we take a look at this and continue to track the action here, as 9 riders will qualify for the main event, we're getting really excited about how it's going to look here when the winners of these 2 heats get together side by side. That's a little later in our program. Right now, we're just early on. It's heat number 2 at 125. We'll be back. Out in front with nearly a 3-second lead, but behind him, Donnie McGordy coming under attack from Joaquin Rodriguez, who was briefly in second position early in this race until McGordy, who none of us had ever heard of. I don't have to apologize for that, fellas, but you know what? Now we got a great battle going on for second position here.
McGordy's going to start to feel that right now, but the last time through the whoop section, he had an awesome rhythm where he just jumped about 4, jumped 4 more, and he was out of there. But the leader, Grant Langston, is checked out, and the reason for that was a 57 flat. So he has matched Millsaps' pace and raised him 1.
Any way to compare what you see with Grant Langston and what we saw in the first heat? With, you know, they're in 2 different races, but can you compare what they're doing?
Well, definitely. They're both flying through the whoops, and that's going to be the decision in this race tonight, because if you look at them, you think, oh, they're just sand whoops. Well, they're dug into the grass, so you get at the bottom of that sand whoop, you get a square grass edge that wants to throw your bike side to side, wants to throw you over the handlebars. So it's not just a little sand bump. It's got all kinds of teeth in it as well.
That's a tricky section right there, Ricky, where they jump on those step-on, step-offs, 3 of them right in a row, and Rodriguez made a mistake and allowed Walker to get by. I'm surprised Walker's not just getting to the front a little bit quicker as we get into the last lap. He pulls the tear off, clears his vision. He might be able to pull off the second place here and make it Kawasaki 1-2.
Most of the top 9 have passed the start-finish line on their final lap. Grant Langston long ago did exactly that. He's the only rider here on the stretch going west in front of the grandstand. He's relaxing just a little bit because he has such a huge lead.
And this is where Walker's had a hard time. McGordy making a big mistake and Walker getting into second. So Matt Walker going faster and faster each lap. He's known as a sand rider. He's from down south. He loves having that hometown advantage. So now Matt Walker puts himself in a good position for gate pick in the main event, and I was also getting a clean track.
Took him a little while to get going. That surprised me, but he is starting to show that speed. His best lap only a 59. actually a 58.5. Probably that last lap, and he's getting there, but Grant Langston's the man.
And here he comes across the start-finish line, high in the air, saluting the crowd, and no doubt his mechanics. Grant Langston has won heat number 2 in the 125 Supercross. Second place, Matt Walker's across the line. The checkered flag is waving for Donnie McGorty, for Joaquin Rodriguez. And on the last lap, Greg Schnell, whose name means fast in German, had the second quickest lap. Nice job for him.
Greg Schnell doing a great job. Won the U.S. Open last year. But my hat's off to this Donnie McGorty. He's done a great job coming out here and really showing people that he's a great sand rider.
Maybe we'll have to remember that name, but right now it looks like Greg White's ready with Grant Langston.
I sure am. Grant, wow, you got a little bit of a challenge there, but you still pulled it off. Congratulations. How you feeling?
Pretty good. I mean, heat races, it's just the beginning of the night, so, obviously happy to get a win, but didn't ride as smooth as I'd like to have. Had Donnie McGorty get me on the first lap. I messed up to the whoops and went wide, but, I kind of regained my composure and just started plugging away and, had a pretty lonely ride in the front there.
All warmed up for the main, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. I think, the heat races, like the intro, so I like to get that out of the way and focus on the main.
All right, congratulations, Grant. Brian?
All right, let's take a look at all the results. We concentrated rather heavily on the first 3 or 4 riders, but here is the way everyone finished. And remember, the top 9 advanced directly to the main event. So as Grant Langston turned out to be the winner, and Matt Walker joined him in second position, both having got around Donnie McGorty, who became quite a revelation in this one. Rodriguez, Schnell, you can see all the way down to Brad Ripple on a Suzuki. Those guys will go to the main event. The rest will get a second chance. With that, we'll take another commercial break. Don't worry, we got more action, and it's coming thick and fast here at the Daytona Supercross by Honda.
Wednesday nights, unique.
Yes, the diversity of Daytona. A huge crowd gathered here tonight at the Speedway for the Supercross races all around Daytona. Custom motorcycles. If I had $1 for everyone in town, I'd make as much money as Greg White. And I want to talk about a particular custom motorcycle right now. It's called Time Warp. It comes out of the Strokers Dallas facility. There is the bike, and we're about to meet Rick Fairless, who built the bike and rides the bike. He's also fearless, but that's another issue. This is kind of a different place. Yes, they build custom motorcycles, but they also sell a lot of motorcycles every year. There's an adjacent biker bar. It's the place to ride to on Sunday afternoon in Dallas. And there's Rick, and here's Rick with us in the studio to tell us about a new motorcycle show that's coming to Speed Channel. Please tell me this is not going to be another bike building show where the parts don't fit and people yell at each other.
Nothing. It's nothing like that. It's more of a biker sitcom kind of show, and what we're trying to do is show the diversity of my place there, because we're a motorcycle shop, we're a beer joint, and all the stuff that happens behind the scenes.
Do crazy people come there? That's what I want to know.
Lots of crazy people, yes, sir.
And you are nearly certifiable yourself, so that theoretically there's going to be some interesting byplay among the people and not just the bikes.
Right, and it's funny, and that's the difference between what we do and what's going on the TV shows now, that this show is funny.
So are you like me? Do you find that some of the stuff's getting a little repetitious, the whole bike building thing?
I thought it was very cool at first, and there's parts of it that I still think is cool, but the yelling and the screaming and the making it to the deadline, that's all history.
Is this phenomenon of custom motorcycles, not just on TV, but in general, does this have the kind of legs that it seems to? How long is this phenomenon going to go on, or turn it over as the bubble about to burst?
Well, I think in Texas we have a saying called "till the cows come home," and I think this thing is going to be out there till the cows come home. I don't see it slowing down anytime soon.
When are we going to see the show?
July. Texas Hardtails.
Texas Hardtails on Speed Channel starting in July. Rick, thanks for coming. Thanks for giving us a look at your motorcycle. I want to go back to the Supercross arena now and look more in-depth at the guy who's trying to make history here tonight at Daytona. Nobody's ever won 5. He's going for that record this evening. An inside look at Ricky Carmichael. 10 years ago, the motocross world couldn't wait to embrace a short, pudgy redhead from Florida as its next big thing. Now in his 9th pro season, Ricky Carmichael has more than lived up to all the expectation. Rebounding nicely from last year's knee injury, he quickly returned to the pinnacle of a sport he not only dominates, but is also proud to represent.
You know, it's definitely come a long way as the sport has since I've been a professional. And, you know, it's a huge business at this point. But, you know, everybody is doing well, and I'm glad to see it. All of us that have been racing for a while deserve it. You know, we're risking a lot out there, and I'm glad to see it, you know, panning out for everybody. It's good for everyone.
But RC is also a firm critic, noting that the rewards of motocross should be reserved for those who earn them. He is skeptical of those who cash in without first paying their dues.
It seems like some of these kids coming up, they just kind of are going through the motions, and they're a bit spoiled also. You know, they're making good money. These companies are paying them good money, and they really haven't proven themselves. I think that, you know, my opinion, I think they need to prove themselves before they get paid all this dough, because it makes them lazy. You know, they coming in here and they're making so much money, and they're not giving it, you know, their heart isn't into it. They might think that their heart is into it, but it's not. And they just need to buckle down and take it serious, you know. You can't race forever, and you need to make it good while you can. And I don't think that they do. I think they got too many distractions and too much stuff going on. You know, it's not 100% about racing.
We've come to know quite well the race day Ricky, squeezing the last drop of sweat out of every moto, a model of determination and dedication, rewarded with record-setting wins, championships, and money. But is there another Ricky Carmichael away from the crucible of competition?
You know, I have my fun. You know, I go down to Destin and, you know, have my fun with my friends, have some beers, and you have to have fun. To get longevity, you have to have fun and not burn yourself right out. And I think as I've gotten older, that's what I've learned to do, is have my fun when I can, but also buckle down when it's time. And that's how come I'm still going.
In terms of record book numbers and money, there's certainly nothing left for Carmichael to prove. Yet he has returned this season more motivated than ever, storming back to the top of the Supercross heap and riding a Suzuki at that. This championship is his focus, and he is understandably reluctant to look beyond that to the day his racing career will be over.
I don't know what I'm going to do when I retire. I'm just taking it 1 year at a time right now. I know for the next 2 or 3 years, I know where I'm going to be, and that's going to be out here riding all the time. So if I had to look into the future, I'd like to, you know, do something like Jeff Stanton does, and help the younger people, you know, help the younger racers, and just be a good ambassador, and do spontaneous events. And if I want to go do the high jump at X Games or Supermoto, do that. If I want to go race Daytona or race Atlanta Supercross or do an outdoor, I want to be able to do that and have that freedom. And on a serious note, you know, definitely have a family.
Ricky Carmichael talking about his future. Let's talk about what Ricky's done in the past. Check out the numbers. 115 national wins, 75 in motocross, 40 more in Supercross, 11 championships over the 2 series. And this is unbelievable. Not 1, but 2 perfect AMA 250 National Championship Series, undefeated through 24 motos. And so let's bring Johnson and Bailey back in, and let me ask them a question about the looming presence not present tonight. I'm talking about the guy who won here in the 125 class last year, Bubba Stewart. And my question, will he be able to beat Ricky? Is he the toughest challenge Ricky has faced today?
The toughest challenge, I can't say he's the toughest. You know, Bubba is probably the most natural athlete out there. He's got speed in technique that kind of marvels anybody else out there. But I don't know if he has the same heart and drive. And it seems like technique has been beaten by not consistency, but persistency almost every time. And especially at a track like Daytona, technique's not going to get it done.
Right. You know, I think with what Ricky, it took him a long time to finally knock McGrath off that top spot. And although James is faster than Ricky at times, he's more brave, he's willing to jump more things, and you know, has certainly the qualifications to win. I just don't know if he's, you know, got the experience enough, the maturity enough, and even if he's able to run a certain pace, I think Ricky Carmichael can match that and just run it longer until James is finally going, wait, I've never been in this position before. Why is this guy still on my tail?
Well, I talked with Ricky Carmichael about it at the beginning of the season. We were at Phoenix right when James got hurt, and James had some fast practice times, and Chad was a little bit quicker in a couple corners. And I sat down with Ricky, and we were talking about some different corner angles and speeds and things like that. And he said to me, James is going to have his time, but it's not right now. You know,
right.
There's going to be a time when James dominates the sport, but he's going to have to knock Chad Reed and Ricky Carmichael off those top two spots. You know, a lot of times guys have moved in and inherited that #1 position. He's got 2 guys that aren't ready to quit yet, and they're not on their way on their downslope yet. So
real quick, could you 2 guys have beaten Ricky Carmichael in your prime against him in his prime?
Wow, that's a tough one. Ricky Carmichael's got an infrastructure. Do I think that in certain races I could have, my body type would have been a better advantage and could have beat him? Yes, but in a lot of places he would have beat me. I didn't have the structure that he has with his house, his track, his family, his everything behind him. We were pretty much lone rangers when we did it on our time.
I think he could have beat him. I would put my money on that, and maybe not have a perfect season against him, but I think I could have beat him too. I mean, what Ricky has done is he's brought in the 80s, and what Hanna did when he came in the late 70s. The guys were sort of a little bit lazy and complacent, and Hanna came in there, trained harder, wanted it more, and beat them all.
I'd like to
I think what happened with us in the 80s is, you know, there were so many of us that had so much pride. We didn't like to lose 2 or 3 races in a row, so we would do whatever it took. And I think that Ricky has just brought that back here in the new century and made it a bit more scientific, and he's just separated himself from the pack.
I think your point, could I have beaten him? Yes. Could I have beaten him all the time? No. I don't know if I would beat him in a championship, but I think on my best day, yeah, I'm prideful. I'm a racer. So's David. Hey,
yeah,
if you didn't think you were #1, I wouldn't have lined up.
All right. Stop. Enough of that. And I want to get more deeply into that whole business of the money and the motivation and why it seems to be such a one-guy sport a little later. But right now, I want to put in a plug for my own show. Wind Tunnel tomorrow night, or Sunday night, rather. That's our new time slot, 9 o'clock Eastern time for 2 hours. Perhaps we could continue the debate. Could Johnson and Bailey have beaten Ricky in the prime? Call us and let us know what you think. We'll be right back.
Preparation for the 250 heats. We're going to get to that in a moment. We mentioned about the great lighting here in track, and it looks better than ever. Greg White's with a man who might know something about that.
Yeah, down here with Gary Gordon from Musco Lighting. Now, there's a lot of lights out here, Gary. How does it compare to, I don't know, a 100-watt light bulb?
These 6 trucks we brought out here are directly related to about 32,000 100-watt household light bulbs.
Wow, that's awesome power. All right, look, it's time for racing, so let's throw it back upstairs. Thanks for the lights. It's Supercross, Brian.
250, heat #1, getting ready to go. Let's see who gets the whole shot in this one. Chad Reed has featured the number 22 machine. It's a wild gallop to turn #1. It's a blue bike out in front, and it is the 22 of Reed.
There's a drag race into the corner there with Fonseca, and you can see already he's not making friends out there. He almost pushed Fonseca over the berm. He did what he had to do, but I think that's going to get real interesting in the main event when you got everybody getting in there out of both these heats.
It's going to be very, very tight. Tyler Evans and also Travis Preston up there as well.
1, 2, 3, over the doubles there, step on, step off. You're talking about the whoops being the key to this racetrack. They've got a couple of sections of them here, as now Reed is starting to open up ever so slight of a lead, but not a whole lot. He's got a whole bunch of them right behind him.
He's got a slew of riders right behind him, but what you got to know is that, you know, he says that he's out there just doing the best that he can, but there's a war. When you get 2 guys at the top of their game, they're trying to beat each other's times. They're trying to beat each other's races. They're doing everything they can to dominate the other guy. So with Chad Reed getting the whole shot, he's going for that fastest heat because that gives you the first pick on the gate for the main event and also a mental edge. So if he had to work his way through, that would take some of his time away. So him and Ricky Carmichael are very critical on trying to have the fastest heat race of the night.
Fonseca and Preston second and third right now, but getting a challenge as Evans comes up to make a move here. So we've got some pretty good battles. Kevin Windham running in 5th position on the number 14 machine has now moved up a spot to 4th. So it is Tyler Evans who got past.
Well, I think what Kevin would really like to do is get up there and try to pace with Chad and learn from him a little bit, see a little different timing there he's using to make some time on Preston. 2 Honda teammates in front of him, so he's got to be a little bit more polite than usual, and while that's going on, Chad Reed's gone.
Yeah, you got 2 two-strokes out in front. You got Chad Reed on a Yamaha YZ250 and Ernesto Fonseca on a CR250 two-stroke. And behind him, Preston and Windham both on 454 strokes. Some people say the 4-strokes have more power for the sand, but for racing, changing direction and all the different stuff, the 2-stroke is the way to go. And those are the 2 guys that are leading the series, are 2-strokes with Carmichael and Reed.
It gives you even more to cheer for if you're a 2-stroke or a 4-stroke guy. I mean, there's so many things, so many variables in this, and the jury is still out on which one is a better bike across the board. They're allowed to use both.
Well, I think, like Rick said, the 250 is just a bit more nimble. The 450's got great torque. Should be able to get good starts, but Carmichael and Reed are pulling a lot of the hole shots, so I don't know if it has the advantage. You know, it's really working in their favor, and it's a little bit harder to move around. So 250 two-stroke's going to stay around a little longer, I think.
Of course, when I was a fan of you guys when you were racing, I was always a big advocate of the fact that it wasn't the bike, it was the guy on it. Maybe it's Reed and Carmichael that are getting the job done. 250, 450 doesn't matter with those guys.
Oh, well, it's also their choice, though, because, you know, that they know what it takes to run that pace, and it's a little bit too tough to do just yet on a 450.
Whoa!
Tough move by Evans on Preston.
Tyler Evans, known as a very physical rider. He's one of the Metal Militia guys, and he gives no quarter, takes no quarter. If you stuff him, be ready. He's going to stuff you back, but he wants to be in that qualifying position. But I got a point to make with you, Drebber. When it was just you and me last year, you said you were my fan. Now, all of a sudden, Bailey's in here, and you were our fan. So make up your mind here, would you?
What did you expect? I mean, now that I got both of you here, it's the best of all worlds. I've got 2 of my biggest heroes in dirt off-road racing. You guys were awesome back then, just as Reed and Carmichael are now. But look at this. These guys, Preston has not given up. He's coming right back in here, and look at that whoop section. Oh, really unbelievable riding. I'm always amazed at the skill it takes to do this, even at my speed.
2 more riders coming into it. Sean Hamlin on the number 28 Monster Kawasaki, and Sebastien Tortelli on the new RMZ 450. So those 2 riders are working their way and trying to get into that qualifying position.
In case you forgot, Chad Reed is out in front by about 5 seconds on the last lap. We'll see if that gap has come down at all. Again, in this one, the top 4 finishers are the ones that go to the main.
Chad Reed putting down a 55.7 that last lap, opening up the gap even more over his challengers.
And that is an extremely quick lap. We're going to take a pause in the action right here. Well, the action's going to continue. We're just going to take a commercial break and come right back to finish this one up.
Speed Channel's coverage of AMA Supercross racing from Daytona is brought to you by Yamaha, now celebrating 50 years as the world's motorsports leader. And by Parts Unlimited. We support the sport.
Position right now, both will transfer unless something happens. Ernesto Fonseca, Kevin Windham going after each other right now behind Chad Reed.
It's like I was saying that Kevin's got to be a bit more polite to get around Fonseca as his teammate. If this was the main event and was coming down to the wire, he'd do what he needed to do to get by. But hey, Fonseca's holding his own. It's not like Kevin's all over him, but this is a spot where Kevin seems to make time. He holds the inside a little bit better right here. See, he's almost on the edge of the grass. Shorter racetrack, and it sets him up for a potential pass through the whoops here.
And coming up side by side.
But Ernesto very fast, but Kevin running the edge, getting by down the outside. And we talked about the difference between a 250 and a 450. The 450 drives in a straighter line, but when it gets sideways, the inertia of that big 450 motor makes it feel heavier. A lot of guys are going, well, I'd like a 252 stroke because it's lighter. All of these race bikes are down at race minimum weight. But Kevin Windham really throwing it down. A lot of people have said he's the most talented rider on a motorcycle.
Well, I think what happens with the 450 is it throws your timing off a little bit because you actually have enough power to overjump things. Where on a 250, it's pretty much you just hold it wide open and you can clear it no problem. As we watch.
Whoa! Final transfer
nice
position
save.
at stake here. Beautiful save by Hamlin.
He wants it bad. But going back to Windham real quick, besides the throttle control, he's tall. You know, he's about 6'2", somewhere in there. He's a little bit heavier, and at 250, he's not going to pull him around the track the way it does for Carmichael and Reed, are quite a bit lighter.
The fourth and final transfer spot right here, guys. I'm on the edge of my seat. I don't know about you.
We've seen Sean Hamlin put a wheel in on Tyler Evans, and we know Tyler will lash back if he has a shot. Both of them making big mistakes. And actually Hamlin giving it to him, but Evans makes a big mistake and is not able to capitalize on it.
He's close enough still, though, Rick. If I was in Hamlin's shoes and I knew that was Tyler Evans behind me, man, I would not leave an inch on the inside because you know Evans will run it in there and knock him down and not be worried about it because, hey, bring it on.
Well, Chad Reed's running really, really strong, really fast,
he just
really
tripled
consistent.
that, Rick.
Yes, he's done a double triple that nobody has done that all night long. And so Chad Reed wants, like he said, he wants to beat Ricky Carmichael at his own game, and this Daytona track is typically Ricky Carmichael's game.
Final lap for Chad Reed, no problem there. 16 seconds in front of Kevin Windham on the previous lap, on this lap. So Chad Reed looks like his time is going to be pretty easy. He's already thrown down that incredibly fast 55-second lap, so he sent a message to his competitors that they're going to have to try to match, and of course that means Ricky Carmichael. Reed looks like he's going to make this one look easy here, and Windham also has got very little issue right now with Ernesto Fonseca since they're teammates, but Hamlin and Evans, they haven't settled it yet.
No, the checkered flag is getting ready to go. Chad Reed, one more corner, very smooth, very fast, charges all the way to the finish, so he's trying to make a point to win the fastest heat of the night.
That's an example right there, or a sample, I should say, that he's very confident. He's able to do a triple over near the starting line that no one's done all day. He's got a great timing through the whoop sections. Windham hangs on the second. And you know what? I think Ricky's on the starting line going, all right, well, gauntlet's been laid down. It's time for me to get to work, and I think Ricky's going to match that.
I love it when a gauntlet's on the ground. And these guys right here, Kevin Windham, Ernesto Fonseca, there's Chad Reed already heading back to the pit area. Windham and Fonseca are in. Hamlin is going to take the fourth and final transfer spot, and that puts Sebastien Tortelli and the rest into the semis. They're going to have to get another chance to make this one happen. But Chad Reed has delivered a message to the rest of the field, and in heat number one, ahead of Windham, Fonseca, and Hamlin. They'll go to the main. Everybody else will have a second chance. Nice crowd in the stands here at the Daytona International Speedway for the Supercross by Daytona. It's going to be a lot more good racing here to come, starting with the next heat. But let's go to Greg White.
Down here with Chad Reed. Well, a great result for you, Chad. Seemed to be no problem for you. How's the track holding up right now?
Track's awesome. It's great to be out here. Great to be at Daytona and have something new. Tracks these days are very similar, and it's fun to come here and have a challenge. Every lap the track changes, and I like that. And I want to say hello to my good friend Jeff Fox, the Parson Lim and Thor. These guys at Yamaha got this bike working awesome, and I'm going to do everything in my power to get it done tonight.
Well, Chad Reed certainly has a huge smile on his face. He's in great spirits for Daytona. Brian?
Okay, well, we've got heat number 2 in the 250 coming up right now, and one of the features of that, Mike LaRocco is going to try to qualify for his 14th here at Daytona. To Daytona and the Supercross. This has already been extremely exciting, guys, and I can't imagine it getting a whole lot better until we put all of them together in one shot.
Well, it's going to get real exciting in a moment because we got number 4 on the line, and he just saw what Chad Reed did, a 55.7, a couple of interesting lines out there, and, you know, he doesn't want to let Chad go out there and make that happen and have the edge going into the main event.
Well, we're looking from up above at this track, David. You got all the different surfaces. You got the sand, you got the grass, you got the white clay that chunks up, you got the red dirt that grooves. And you know, when you're trying to pick a tire for this, it's one of the most difficult tracks to do so.
Yeah, you just got to pick stuff for the main event. You know it's going to be the most chewed up, torn most into the sand, and go for the sand and for the tire that's going to get you off the start right here, which is sand.
Top 4 finishers, again, transfer to the main event, and the rest go to the semifinals where the remainder of the field will be set. So the gate is up right now, and in this one we've got Ricky Carmichael, and he's got a helmet cam.
Looking on the left, that's Ricky Carmichael, and does he get the whole shot? Looks pretty clean on the left-hand side.
See how tight he hugged those tuck blocks on the inside, not to give anyone a chance to get by. But somebody still was able to do it.
Andrew Short, he's a rider from the West Coast, and now Ricky Carmichael takes no time, jumps into the lead, and let's see what he can do with this whoop section.
Ricky went in so close to the inside, he couldn't hold it. That was a great move by Andrew Short.
Ricky Carmichael out in front. Didn't take him long to get there. But we're looking from our Rhino Cam shot going along the Daytona Speedway here. It gets to travel with the racers. And Rick Johnson, Carmichael's already out there.
Carmichael does not like sitting around waiting. He wastes no time. But rounding off the top 4, we got Ricky Carmichael in first, Andrew Short, David Vuillemin, and Mike LaRocco.
And again, LaRocco trying to qualify for his 14th start here at Daytona. His first came back in 1989. Here is Ricky Carmichael, and we're just going to ride with this guy and watch.
That's the triple that Chad Reed had just done. Hear how long he leaves the throttle on into that triple.
Okay, when Ricky Carmichael rides, you wonder what his motorcycle feels like? It's like a turkey on Thanksgiving Day. He wrings the neck out of that thing, and he rides. He does it for everything that it's worth. I've never seen, like David said, you watch Ricky Carmichael ride, it scares you. He goes so fast and races so hard.
Good battle going on for with behind Vuillemin for the final transfer spot. Vuillemin on the number 12 machine, and
a Florida rider, Tim Ferry, coming back. Tim Ferry always goes fast in the sand. Hasn't had the results that he's wanted, but he's back on a two-stroke, and now he's fighting Mike LaRocco for that final qualifying position.
You know, I thought that Ricky looked a little shaky on that first lap. If you take a look at Vuillemin, the crowd just erupted because that double right there that Vuillemin did, Ricky tripled it. It wasn't pretty, but he got it done.
But let me tell you, that's the one thing about the sport today. All the riders, you know, I work with Team Suzuki directly. You work with the satellite team, WPR. We are letting the riders know all the time what's going on. So I guarantee this, the second that Chad Reed did that triple in the first heat race, they were radioing down to Gosler, that's Ricky Carmichael's mechanic, to let Ricky know you got to do this in your heat race as well.
I'm anxious to see now, Rick, what happens in this next lap, because a 57 flat compared to Chad's 55.7. That's not even close. Ricky was probably pretty disgusted with that, and he's going to turn up the heat right here. And if I say get it done one more time, can somebody just push me out of this tower?
Okay, we got David the cable guy up here. Get her done!
I'm a little rusty, but I'll get there. I need a few laps to get going. Here comes Ricky.
The battle for second is, for third is really strong between David Vuillemin, Mike LaRocco, and Tim Ferry. These three riders going head-to-head. David, you worked with David Vuillemin in the past. You didn't have the result that you wanted. How do you feel about what's going on right now?
Well, he's doing okay. I think he can do more. And but at the same time, some guys look at what Carmichael does, as you just pointed out, and go, man, that looks so scary. And he's taking big risks out there. And Vuillemin, he enjoys the sport. He enjoys having a career, and being tough, but I don't think he's putting himself in the position where he's going to possibly go down hard the way Ricky. Ricky looks to me like he would just throw the whole championship away just to be able to keep up with Chad Reed at times, and I don't think Vuillemin's willing to do that, and there's a lot of other people who are in the same position.
Hey, David and Ricky, it's Greg down in the pits. I have a question for you. As this track was really starting to get rutted up, and Ricky Carmichael's trying to go for the fastest time, well, big action going on at the track.
Vuillemin just went down. Go ahead, Greg.
David Vuillemin down, but as this track gets more rutted and Chad Reed had a better track than Ricky Carmichael, what kind of extra pressure is Ricky putting on himself to try to get a faster time for gate position?
Ricky doesn't care. I think he runs to the bathroom to beat his wife's time to who brushes their teeth quicker. He's the most competitive person I've ever seen at everything. So he doesn't matter if it's rainy, sun, shine, sand, dirt. It doesn't matter. Ricky Carmichael wants the fastest lap, but you've made a good point. The track is getting worse as the night goes on. So Chad Reed had a little bit better of a track, not a lot.
And with that, a 56.0 lap by Ricky Carmichael the last time around. He's not far off. Let's take another look at David Vuillemin, who just handed a transfer spot to Timmy Ferry.
Well, you had the two riders. David Vuillemin goes in. Mike LaRocco on the outside jumps that rut, gets a hold of Vuillemin's front wheel, pushes it over the edge, and Tim Ferry just missed his back wheel. So that's a qualifying position where here at Daytona, you don't want to run a semi because you need all the energy you can get.
So with Ricky Carmichael out in front by almost 9 seconds already in this heat race, it is a foregone conclusion who's going to win, but we're still going to show you the end when we come back. Here is Ricky Carmichael near the end of this race. He's so far in front of everybody else, and all 4 transfer positions, in fact, are clear. Let's just watch and ride.
That long rut back there is where he made his mistake, or where LaRocco made his mistake and took out Vuillemin. It was unintentional, but after this right-hander, Ricky's going to double and then triple. Watch.
That's the triple that Chad Reed did in the first heat. That's the kind of things that these two riders are pushing the edge. They're not worried about a championship right now. They want to have the fastest heat. So more of a psychological advantage than it is a physical advantage having the first pick. Because sometimes I would rather pick a second gate. If David had the, could pick first, then I could pick a gate that control him if I want to be inside or outside. But really, for these guys, it's all about pride and who's got the fastest heat.
I love listening to how early he gets on the power everywhere. That bike's just going, ouch. Give me a break. It's like lap riders is getting the heck out of the way. Believe me, they can hear him when he's coming. So intimidating to have Carmichael right behind you, or Reed. As both guys wind those 250s as far as they'll go.
A really good competition here. Carmichael out in front. I mean, what challenges him at this point? Final lap.
We got on the last lap, Ricky Carmichael, and you can see he's not letting up. He's running at 10/10 all the time. Here's Mike LaRocco, who's in third position, but Andrew Short, who's been very impressive, come off the West Coast. Now he's just getting on the 250, and he's going faster and faster. He's running about his fastest lap of 58.1, but he's consistently in the 58s.
3 consecutive 56-second laps for Ricky Carmichael out in front. It is Mike LaRocco third, Timmy Ferry fourth, and they are all secure in their positions right now with the time gap that they have. You can see the gap behind the leader going across the top of your screen.
I'm pretty impressed, Rick. I don't know about you, with Andrew Short being able to hold off LaRocco on a track that seems to suit LaRocco. Carmichael approaching the finish line was never able to match the lap time of Chad Reed, partially due to the racetrack tearing down.
But I think that Ricky Carmichael consistently was quicker, so it's going to be very close. It's probably going to be within 1 or 2 seconds of who had the faster time.
Here's Andrew Short, going to finish in second position, and we already have our hats off to him as they fight those deep ruts. There's Mike LaRocco, who has just qualified for his 14th Daytona start. And congratulations to him as well, and to Timmy Ferry for capitalizing on the misfortune of David Vuillemin, who will apparently finish 6th instead of transferring to the main. Ricky Carmichael the winner, and Greg White is heading that way.
Carmichael, as Ricky gets his helmet off. Ricky, another great performance for you. A little bit shaky on the start. How are you feeling right now?
I feel good. My Suzuki's great, and it's going to be a long main event. Just got to put in 20 good laps.
All right, we're looking forward to seeing that main event. Ricky Carmichael, another win here at Daytona.
You know what? That looked like an acting job to me. I don't think he looks very happy. He's like, yeah, I just got to put in 20 good laps, because those 8 weren't what I like.
I'm always amazed at how not winded they are when they finish. I'd be asking for an ambulance. Ricky Carmichael, Short, LaRocco, and Ferry are in the main. More to come here on Speed. Stay with us from Daytona.
Daytona Supercross on the agenda tonight. Tomorrow morning at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific. We'll crank it up with the Superbike season opener on the road course, followed by the Daytona 200. Let me toss out a couple of statistics. 1985, there were 8 different winners in Supercross, and 3 guys went into the final round, separated by a total of 4 points for the championship. Since 1989, 16 years, there have been a total of 5 guys who have won all of the championships, 3 for Stanton, 7 for McGrath, and 3 for Ricky Carmichael. So my question to our experts tonight, Ricky Johnson and David Bailey, why that huge change? How did Supercross become a sport usually dominated by a single rider? What's going on?
Well, early in the 80s, you saw Supercross just starting to make its way. Now it's sort of a specialized sport. You hear Chad Reed say, I like Supercross, it's fun, it's this, it's that. He looks for Supercross. He doesn't really enjoy the outdoors. Ricky Carmichael enjoys outdoors but hates losing anywhere. So you see that certain riders are more specific to their sport, and Supercross is taking on a life of its own.
Yeah, I just wanted to win, and I think there was 4 or 5 guys in the pack in the mid-'80s that wanted to win, and I think now there's riders a little bit more content to just be on the podium. The podium never used to be a big deal. It was the winner. And I think the podium now, it makes second and third seem, as it should be, but I think the riders have got a little bit too relaxed and not going after the win the way we all did.
I want to pursue that a little bit with you guys, but first let's talk about a twist on this. You've got one guy on top, so there's the constant search for the next big thing, the next new kid. 16, 17-year-old youngsters signing huge motocross contracts. Right now, a lot of people are thinking Davi Millsaps could be the next big thing. We're going to see him in action again tonight in the 125 main event. First, let's find out what the kid is all about.
grow up. Pretty much my mom and them just trying to get me to mature when I'm on the bike and off the bike, so I'm focused more. When I'm at the race, I'm just always clowning around whatever they want me to stay focused. And you know, what they don't understand is that I'm focused, but I'm just having fun, you know, just trying to relax. That's pretty much the best piece of advice I got, and it kind of helped me because, you know, I think I matured on the track. It was exciting. You know, I expected it from me, but I didn't know it was going to happen the first race. I guess I rode smart, as they all say, and just rode my own race and came out on top. Coming into it last year, they were just all around me, and then towards the end, you know, it just kind of fell off, whatever. Some people are with you because you're doing good. Some people are with you because they're your friends. You know, they're with you if you do good or bad, first or last, you know. I guess Daytona's good because you get to see how good a shape you're in. Of course, you know, it's a rough Supercross track. You know, it's a lot different than the regular Supercrosses. Last year I got second in it. It just brings out the motocross rider in you. Live a normal life. You know, and go out at Friday nights, whatever, when I can stay out kind of late. Talk my friends to the movies, to dinner, whatever. Try to pick up girls, but I'm not that good at it. I race motocross for a living, and I love it. That's what I do.
I wonder if Davey hit it right there in that last quote. I do motocross for a living. It's a job. It's what I do for my, okay, 17 years old, but I didn't hear him say, I'm going to go be the king of this thing. I'm going to go be the best motocross or supercross racer ever. David, you alluded to it earlier. Are these kids content with the money they're making to finish on the podium? Is there another Ricky Carmichael in the works?
Oh, there's another Ricky Carmichael. There'll be somebody better, and maybe that's James. There'll be somebody better than James. There always is. But you know, I think the kids come right out of the amateur ranks. They step right into a semi, and their gear is delivered in a plastic bag. One set for practice, a set for the first moto. Their goggles are all delivered, you know, with one for every condition, and they're weighted on hand and foot, and it becomes almost an expectation for these guys. And I think, like Ricky Carmichael's alluded to before, he goes, you know, these guys haven't really gotten the results yet. They haven't paid their dues, and I think they're getting pampered so much, which is what you want to do for these kids, but it's happening too much. They're getting a little too comfortable, and they just want to have fun. And the bottom line is, you got to get results.
Well, and they're also being paid on expectation. You know, a lot of these guys, you know, clothing companies like Fox are wanting to sign kids for lifetime contracts. When they're getting it, when they're amateurs, they're making bonuses for getting on the podium or top fives from the different manufacturers in amateur races. Back in the early 80s, you wanted to get to pro. I started racing pro when I was 13 because I wanted to make money to buy my first truck. I think one of the keys there that Davi Millsaps was saying, he tries to pick up on chicks. I mean, you talk to a lot of guys, what's their motivation for doing anything? Make money and meet girls. So you know, to meet chicks and all that, you got to win races. But to win races, you got to put the hard work in. And Davi Millsaps, I have to say, has matured a lot. Last year, made a lot of mistakes, crashed a lot, made a lot of stupid mistakes. This year, he's been more focused. He's got his mother in their training facility. He's got the people around him, Roger DeCoster, his mechanic, Carlos. Everybody is working for him. And also, he has Ricky Carmichael as a teammate. And if you have a champion like that setting the pace for you, I don't care who you are, you feed off of it. Even if you're not going towards his wake, you get sucked into it and you go with it. And the whole Suzuki team has been elevated because of Ricky Carmichael and Ricky Carmichael's entourage. So you'll see Davi Millsaps gain from that. One final thought is one of the West Coast guys, Brock Kepler, who we don't see here because this is an East Coast event, has been very strong as well. So there is another Ricky Carmichael.
Help us to appreciate, guys, if you can, the dollars that we're talking about for these kids, the kind of money that they're making for a heat race win, never mind a main event win here at Daytona compared to what you were getting paid.
Well, I made $5,500 when I won in 1984, and I made $5,000 in bonus money from Honda. And I don't know exactly, but I think a ballpark figure for the bonuses to win a heat race is around 10,000, 7 to 10,000, and 70 to 100,000 for the main event win. When Rick and I were contracted with Honda that last year in '86 together, it was $100,000 for the championship. Now they're close to that for one night of racing. So, you know, the guys are a little bit more comfortable. I don't think the money matters to Ricky Carmichael at all, but further back in the pack, if they've got to take big chances and possibly risk getting hurt, or possibly shorten their career or whatever, they're willing to go, you know what, I got all this money, it's a long season, I'm just going to be careful.
I got to stop you there, Ricky. I know you're just itching to jump in on that, but hey, we got a lot more racing to do. I don't want to spend all the time talking about the money that they make riding the motorcycles. We'll take the commercial break. We'll come back as the action continues here in the Daytona Supercross by Honda. 35th Annual Daytona Supercross presented by Honda. Daytona International Speedway 125 main event about to get cranked up. Our cue to give you a quick look at what happened last year in the 125 main event. The Bubba Stewart Show. Bubba Stewart's only Daytona Supercross appearance was eminently successful. Took the lead right here. Never saw his competition. This kid made it his goal last year, not just to win, but to win by at least a minute at Daytona. That mission was handily accomplished. He lapped most of the field. His two-stroke Kawasaki seemed right at home. After all, it's not far from his home in nearby Haines City. Can't help but think that it'd be fun to see this kid back here tonight. The feel-good story last year, the 125 class winner, rookie Davi Millsaps, only his third ever Supercross. He finished second. He'll try to improve that by one tonight. And with that, let's go back to the guys who will call the action tonight. Brian Drever, Ricky Johnson, and David Bailey, high atop the racetrack.
Thank you very much, Mr. Despain, and we are set for the 125 main event. And with that, let's set the grid so that those of you at home know who's going to be in this race. They all got here through the heats, the semis, or the last chance qualifiers. They had 9 each in the 2 heats, and then a last chance qualifier to fill the field with 4. And they're starting to make their positions down on the start gate right now. So as they move into the starting gate, we'll take a look at the starting grid, let you know just exactly. We know that Grant Langston, Davi Millsaps, Matt Walker, those guys are going to be really, really tough. Hansen, another guy, a contender for the championship. We've got a lot of great and interesting facts. You can see part of the grid rolling across the top of your screen right now. These are the riders who will be in it. That is Matt Walker putting on his goggles and getting ready to give you a ride on board.
Yeah, I noticed when Langston went across the finish line, he seemed pretty happy with his heat race ride. And although that Walker was able to get up in the second there at the end, he rode across the line in complete disgust, looking up into the sky like, what an idiot. What was I doing those first few laps? He got it together at the end. We talked earlier about he might be able to pull off a win here tonight. Those last few laps indicate that he has the speed to do it.
Greg White?
You know, I've been coming to this racetrack for about 10 years, and this is the best conditions I've ever seen the track. However, there's always some type of section that's going to mess with the riders. Now, for David Bailey and for Ricky Johnson, you know, who are supermen, for us mere mortals, one of the things that's so impressive about Supercross riders is their ability to make split decisions in a moment's notice. Now, this particular whoop section I'm standing in right here is just after the start-finish line jump. Now, there's 2 different choices to make here. At the beginning of this section on the inside is a big dip, and you can kind of flatten out, and then you have 3 or 4 whoops. If you take the right-hand side of this racetrack, you're pretty much hitting about 6 or 7 whoops. Now, we've seen riders do different things on this track at different speeds. So when the riders come around on the first lap of this 125 main, they're going to have to make a decision which side to choose. Sometimes they may not be able to make that decision because they're in race action. But either way, a section like this could decide the outcome for one of the racers. Brian?
All right, Greg. I mean, big deal. With his long legs and at walking speed, he's got all the time in the world to make those choices down there. Look at this as we get ready to go. That's Matt Walker to the left of the box as you're looking at it right there, and he'll be carrying our onboard camera. Quickly, before this thing gets underway, what are we going to see?
We're going to see some bumping in the first corner. If I were you, what do you think, Rick? Inside?
Definitely. You got Davi Millsaps that's right in the center. I think he's got the premium spot, but what I like to tell my guys is condition before position. Here at Daytona, it's very soft, very deep ruts. You want a very straight rut. So you want it, when I pick my starting spot here, I always look for the most shallow, straight rut. But Davi position, I think, is in the most favorable spot because he's in the center of the inside gates.
That would be left of the gate, closest to our screen. And, well, I'll tell you what, the anticipation is really starting to build right now as we get set for the first main event of the night. They're still putting on their goggles. We got a little bit more time. David?
Looks like Davy is ready for this. Look at him just sitting there, bouncing up and down the bike, getting his goggles just right. He seems to be psyching himself up, really motivated. You see Langston over there, who actually pulled the whole shot from the outside last week. So he could come in and cross and take the front wheel right away for Millsaps. It's going to be, the race could be won or lost in that first turn tonight.
You got 3 strong guys right there. You got Grant Langston, number 8, Steve Boniface, number 141, and Davi Millsaps, 188. You got 3 different power plants there, Kawasaki, Suzuki, and Honda, and also it's been a war between Pro Circuit and Yoshimura. So we'll see who's got the horsepower to get these guys forward. The sign is up, and we're getting ready to go racing.
And here we are with some facts. In 20 years, we've had 18 different winners. We're going to get a different one here tonight. They're getting set to go. And, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be underway. There it is, the start. Right dead center, out of the front. Millsaps. Matt Walker gets passed by a half a dozen guys, and they go into turn number 1. What a scramble. We didn't see anybody going down, at least in this shot. And it looks like everybody has got a good, clean, safe start.
Looks to me like Brian McGordy got another great start, running 3rd right now.
Donnie McGordy on number 248 out of Florida. You know, he's really going crazy.
Langston's off the track as Millsaps rebounds and last place.
Langston down, other Kawasaki down again. Middle of the pack.
Setting it up, Brian, for a great race. The 2 fastest riders, both heat winners, coming from behind.
And now Matt Walker going down and getting T-boned really hard by Greg Schnell. So there goes our, our theory as far as Matt Walker is concerned. But it's really good that he's up and rolling because that was a hard hit.
Now, I talked about Donnie McGordy getting another great start. Wasn't that long ago he was doing the amateur ranks. So that's the same thing for our leader as we look at Matt Walker trying to get going. Josh Grant, who signed with Factory Connection, the first outdoor national of his career. He pulled the whole shot, led the race.
You got Josh Grant, McGordy, and Adams out front, and coming through the pack is Davi Millsaps. You see him wasting no time banging on Mills, but no!
Down he goes, another big pileup. Lots of guys involved in this one, and it is unbelievable how much action we've got going on already.
That was the replay, Brian, of what happened on the first lap with Millsaps. He was trying to be safe and tuck it up the inside, and he got hit from behind and knocked down. He's got the speed to win the race. The riders out front are 2 to 3 seconds slower a lap, so we're going to see something really exciting down the final lap.
Well, clearly, I don't need any more than that to make it exciting. I'm looking at the second time something happened, thought it was happening again. But out in front, it's Grant, McGordy, Adams, the top 3, and some of our pre-race favorites are really got their work cut out for them, with the exception of Hansen.
This is a huge opportunity, Rick, don't you think, for Josh Hansen?
Definitely. Josh Hansen's been one of those riders that I think mentally he's been getting beat up a little bit. He's been getting passed by Langston, been getting passed by Millsaps and stuff. So this is an opportunity. If he can get up front and get away from these guys, and here we see Matt Walker down again. Matt Walker having a hard time now, 1 lap down. But this kid, Josh Grant, came onto the scene last year at the Nationals, really put in some great performances, been injured a little bit, but now he's leading the Daytona Supercross.
And meanwhile, Grant Langston has moved up to 5th position, so one of our favorites is on the recovery path. There he is right there.
That was a fast recovery, Brian. I didn't think he was going to get back going quite that quick. Went completely off the racetrack, and usually when you make a big mistake like that early in the race, you get passed by, packs of people, but he was able to limit the damage and keep himself in position to win the race. I don't mean to overlook Josh Grant's ability to win the race, but I'm just thinking a rider like Josh Hansen, who's already won a main event, might be a bit more experienced at a time like this.
And consider this, too, along with the facts that we saw on the screen, 20 times they've raced 125s here. 15 of those times, the winner of Daytona has become the winner of the championship. Let that little fact sit in your minds for a while. While we take a commercial break, we'll come back to action in the 125 main event here at Daytona. It has already been action-packed, and we're having a lot of fun. Hope you are, too. Now, but just as exciting are the riders coming up through the front. Davi Millsaps up to 8th position, made up about 4 spots, and one big deal. We'll see him in just a few moments as he heads towards the front, but right now we've got to be impressed with the leader. Pass for second.
Fast for second is Troy Adams going in, and Adams is one of those guys. He's a big physical guy. He's 190 pounds on the 254-stroke Honda, but this track plays for strong guys. So watch for Troy Adams. He's been very impressive in the past. He's one of the guys that's going to be pushing at the end of the race.
And Matt Walker, is reason the flags are out. That's the third time he's hit the deck, and what a disgusting night. And Langston has gone down off the triple. He's in a blind spot. Lucky he's not going to get hit. Millsaps is getting around him. Millsaps, we talked about how much progress he'd made. The reason for that was a 57.3, the fastest lap so far, close to what the 250s are running. So he is in position to win the race now.
Grant Langston having all kinds of problems as we continue to watch the leader here. He had gotten up to 5th position.
And one of the problems that a lot of people complain about the 4-strokes, and Grant Langston is right there. He's having a hard time getting his bike started. He finally got it started. He's a distant last place. So everything that you think is going to happen wrong happens here at Daytona. Grant Langston was in a position to make a lot of points on Davi Millsaps and now goes down on the big triple.
And speaking of having a tough time starting the bike, I talked about Josh Grant's first national. He led it. He was actually pulling a gap on the field at Hangtown last year, tipped over in a rut and could not start the bike and DNF'd the race. And now we're looking at Grant Langston giving up a lot of points here possibly to Davi Millsaps for the title.
Well, this has really turned the title chase upside down. You fellas made the point about 250s versus 450s in the big class, but it seems as though the 4-strokes are completely dominating racing, and with that one little exception. If you stop one, it's hard to get it going again.
Yeah, and you know, there's one other exception. That would be James Stewart on 125. He might be able to make something happen there, but for everybody else, there's just not enough torque on a 125 to keep up with these 254 strokes.
And we saw that in the highlight. Here is Grant Langston, the points leader. Well, he was, let's just say, until we do the math, before this tremendous upside-down turn for him. But Josh Grant continues to impress out front while Langston is trying to do damage control.
Well, Grant's in a position to where, I've been in this position with David. You know, you're racing for a championship, and I've seen David go down, or David saw me get stuck in a gate at one time. You relax a little bit, and you think, my main competition's got some time out. I can relax. And I think Grant messed up a little bit, relaxed on that big triple, and went down. And now he's just got to claw and dig his way for every point.
The top 6 riders that last lap all turning within a half a second lap time. So Millsaps, all the progress he made early, he's not able to close the gap very much. Okay. And Josh Grant, I think he's getting comfortable out front. He seems to be finding the lines he likes. And, you know, when you get a lead like this and you got a lot of pressure, it's difficult to get into your rhythm. And he doesn't have a lot of pressure because all the big guys are making mistakes behind him, and he may be able to pull this off, Rick.
But Daytona's been a place for underdogs, and I really didn't, I don't say that Josh Grant is an underdog. There we get the cross flags, which means halfway. He's not an underdog, but Ricky Ryan has won this race. A lot of underdogs have come and won here because anything can go on at Daytona. Here we see Adams in second place, riding very, very strong, but Davi Millsaps moving in, still in sixth place, trying to go by Chad Johnson for 5th place.
Donnie Hansen's son, Josh Hansen, starting to make some progress on the battle for second.
Millsaps 15th on the first lap, is up to 5th. He's heading for the front. Will he get there? We'll see. Welcome back to the Daytona Supercross by Honda. The leader is Josh Grant, but Adams and Hansen are having a great battle here for second position, and for Hansen, it has championship coloration to it.
Well, you brought up that stat. The winner of this race 15 times gone on to win the title. Now, as this battle heats up, the gap is shrinking to the lead. Josh Hansen can smell a win here. He has no pressure from behind, nothing to lose. Millsaps is not gaining fast enough. Another amount of time is left.
Josh Hansen getting on the inside of Troy Adams and getting by. Adams making a move back in the whoops, and we'll see who comes out on top of that. But another statistic here, KTM has never won a Daytona Supercross. So if Josh Hansen can get up there and win this main event, it'll be a double win for him, and also it's his first Daytona win and also first win for KTM.
A couple of Hondas out front, KTM chasing them, but what about Millsaps? Take a look at a great piece of athleticism and a super save here that happened to him just a little while ago.
Well, Davi Millsaps has got one of those guys that's so much confidence. When he rides, you almost think he doesn't even think about what he's doing. He reminds me a lot of Ronnie Lachine. You look at the save, he just keeps his balance. The bike comes off. It doesn't matter. He just gets right by Chad Johnson, who's been, running strong in the arena cross. But Davi Millsaps on the move forward. He's shrinking that lead. So this race is not over yet.
Hansen has really closed the gap, Brian, now on the leader, Josh Grant. Grant can feel it. I talked about who would be more comfortable up there, somebody with a little bit more experience like Hansen or Josh Grant. I think Hansen would get the nod there. And he's the one able to apply the pressure right now. He's in a good position.
And that indeed will be a big deal as far as the championship goes. I think Millsaps was just showing Johnson there a little freestyle move on the way by. What do you think?
That's just his version of a knack-knack.
Yeah.
Didn't get it all the way over, though.
And we can't see it's off camera right now, but Grant Langston has gone down again. So the frustration for the Pro Circuit Monster Energy guys has gone on. So now Grant has been lapped. He just got lapped by Josh Hansen, and now he's being lapped by Davi Millsaps. So the frustration, he pulls on the track right behind Davi, and you see that Davi is pulling in right behind Troy Adams. So if Davi keeps this thing going, it could be a three-way battle. This could be one of the most exciting finishes in the 125 event we've ever had.
Langston barely holding on inside the top 20, and as Grant Langston went down, we didn't see it. Here's another look.
Coming into the whoops, he gets swapped sideways and just goes down, loses it. That's what I'm talking about this track, David. You got to agree with me. It gets more and more tricky, and the more you try stuff, the more frustrated you get.
No, this is the kind of track where you've got to keep your cool. And he got cross-rutted a little bit in there. The whoops are hard enough, but when you're trying to aim at a rut, it gets even harder. He was a little bit off balance before he entered the section. Now, Millsaps trying to make a move on Adams, move up a spot.
Troy Adams was one of them clean riders, and Davi Millsaps is very aggressive. So I don't think we'll see a lot of sparks flying, but Davi definitely does not want to waste much time because he could have a shot at this win if he gets by Adams soon enough.
That's for third and fourth position on the racetrack right now. Grant with about a 2-second lead over Hansen at this point in the contest. And Josh Grant is coming under attack himself. In fact, here it is as the KTM rider comes up into second position and challenges for the lead. Grant is finding his first challenge of this race. There goes Hansen down on the inside. Couldn't quite make it stick. Here is going to be a very, very critical part of the racetrack that you guys have talked about. Is this where he's going to get it done?
He gets up to side by side, and Josh Hansen takes the lead in the Daytona Supercross. Can Grant come back? He triples. They got lappers in the way. They're going back and forth. That's what this track is about. As the track deteriorates, Josh Grant was able to make up 5 bike lanes in one section just by a small mistake by Hansen.
Pretty good move for a rookie. This is Josh's rookie Supercross season, and I heard reports early on in his Supercross testing that they were considering maybe not having him ride Supercross because he just wasn't flowing with it, and he's flowing pretty good tonight on the most difficult track there is.
A battle for third that turns into hand-to-hand combat as Millsaps did a lot of hard work, all went for nothing there with that collision. We go back to the leader right now, and we're going to have to take a real quick break. There's another lead exchange is happening. Sorry. Okay, we're going to stick. That's good enough, but we're going to stick with you here as Hansen and Grant are going after it for the lead. Side-by-side racing. A third place incident there now gives Adams a clear shot at the final podium position, but look at this.
Here comes Josh Grant back. He's getting a run on Hansen. It goes back into the lead. This is the kind of stuff that you see that we've talked about. A lot of the young riders haven't showed the heart, but both of these guys are giving it.
Millsaps is pulled off the racetrack. He's decided that apparently something has either happened to his machine or to himself. He is not going to be in this one, and that opens the door wide for Hansen to be the man atop the standings when this one is going wrong. There is Davi Millsaps off the course.
He looks to be okay, Brian. He's leaning over the front end. It looks like maybe something wrong with the throttle or the front brake. It was the right side of his bike, I believe, it flipped Troy Adams. And Troy, all he did was get squirrely. He didn't mean to make that happen. It was an unfortunate break for Millsaps, the second one of this race.
Well, if they stay on 4 wheels, that's racing, but it has been really a serious turn of events for the 2 men atop the point standings coming into this race.
Well, the question is, did Josh Hansen, shoot his round off by making that move too early? Here, Grant, he made his move. Now, Grant came back. A lot of times, if you make that move on somebody and they get you back, it blows you out mentally. And Josh Hansen has been able to get tipped mentally. So Josh Grant is doing a great job at fighting himself back, and he's working through the traffic very well.
Yeah, and that time through that section where Grant was making up time tripling, Hansen was able to triple as well. And you're absolutely right, Rick, and you've done that to me before. I've passed you, and I think, okay, well, that's that. And you get me right back, and it throws you completely out of sync, and you got to start from scratch. But what's happened here is Hansen's able to match that pace. Josh is not able to get away from him, so he's able to keep the pressure on, maybe take advantage of a bad decision by Josh through lappers down the stretch.
Definitely. I agree with you 100%, David, on that. White flag. The lappers are going to make this race because both riders are going to be square. We've seen Hansen very aggressive.
And then they go! And they go down! That's that should open it up for Adams if he can get by. And a lot of guys are going to do just exactly that while the 2 leaders are on the ground. They're both up and back going again. Neither one stalled their bike.
We said that this could be the most exciting main event. And I said Hansen is aggressive, but damn, I can't believe this.
All right, folks, out of Hansen and Grant. Leave it up to me, guys. I can talk under almost any conditions, but that brought me to near speechlessness right now. And with that, it seems as though Hansen came out of the incident the better man. Grant has almost surrendered here, and Josh Hansen has proven to be the guy that could get to his feet and get going and keep his head together best.
They both kept their bikes running, too, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's the thing. Everyone says the 4-stroke, if they keep running, they both got out and they got going, and Hansen made that final aggressive move to force out Grant.
I'll tell you what, Josh is quite a charismatic kid, and I can't wait to hear this interview.
Well, indeed, Josh Hansen, that is looking like he's going to win this one. He settled in on the final lap, and the statistic about 15 times the champion in Daytona turns out to be the titleist, and KTM has its first ever win at Daytona, so you know that the men and women in orange are going to be celebrating big here in Bike Week tonight.
The part that I love is that Josh Grant and Josh Hansen both congratulated each other. They're not swinging, they're not yelling at each other. Josh Hansen looks like he's going to puke a lung, but look at Josh Grant. I might go up and hit him, you know, and be mad at him, but you know what he's saying? That's a great race, and that's what you want to see. 2 champions, 2 warriors battling till that last lap, and both of them saying, hey, you did what you had to win. I congratulate you.
Yeah, Josh is stoked. I mean, if you're going to lose one, that's how. You know, he had such a shot at it. When he went across the finish line, he punched the air, and I was thinking, oh, he's mad, and he rode right up to Hansen. I thought, uh-oh, here we go. He was just riding over to go, dude, that was awesome.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing. You know, I've talked about that with Ricky Carmichael and Chad Reed. The best thing a warrior could ever have is somebody to fight with, and to see 2 guys, you know, congratulate each other for a battle, because that's what this sport is about. It's a full battle, and they were doing it.
Well, he's obviously got some physical difficulty there going on, and the celebration is going to have to wait just a little bit. But Dave Despain, what do you think?
Well, we talked earlier about these kids that get paid a lot of money and are content to kind of just take the check and not worry about winning the races. I'll take those 2 Joshes off my list of guys like that. Grant and Hansen, that's as good a race as I've seen in a very, very long time. We're going to need a commercial break. We'll let this kid get himself gathered together, and then we'll come back and hear what he has to say about a dramatic finish for this 125 main event. Don't go anywhere. In 9 o'clock Eastern time on Wednesday night for Unique Whips. Will Castro and his crew turning expensive cars into unique rides for the rich and famous. Save one for these 2 kids that have just put on a spectacular performance here in the 125 main event at the Daytona Supercross. Problems for Grant Langston and Davi Millsaps, the championship challengers. And that left number 35, Josh Grant, number 100, Josh Hansen, as they come down to the last lap with Hansen in the lead, or check that with Grant in the lead. And let's watch how this one unfolds. Here comes the challenge from Hansen, side by side, and down they both go. Somehow they kept those motorcycles going. Who's going to get back on first? Who's headed the right direction? And in the end, it is Josh Hansen who wins it. Both guys are standing by with our Greg White.
What an incredible race. How are you feeling right now? And tell me about it.
I mean, I feel good. It was definitely it was a tiring race. I didn't get the good start, and you know, Josh was out there out front. You know, he made it easy for himself for sure. You know, and I caught up, and I was like, you know, last lap I seen it come out, and I'm like, dude, this is gonna be do or die. So I went into that corner, went outside, and went inside, and I thought he had let off, but you know, I mean, we had a big tangle up, and I just thank God, and both of our bikes were running, dude, because 4-strokes are a pain to start. So I'm stoked. Daytona is the gnarliest race of the year, and you know, this is where the boys, you know, the men are separated from the boys, you know, and I think me and Josh, I mean, we showed it out here. It was a good race.
Congratulations. So, Josh.
Thanks some people. I got to thank KTM Red Bull KTM, Dunlop Tires, Troy Lee Designs, Dragon, my mechanic Oscar, my family, Donnie Hansen, and Big L, the truck driver, and that's it.
All right, cool, man. Congratulations. Wow, what a show you guys put on, Josh. I mean, you were there, you led this thing, and then it came down, you guys were banging and fell down. How are you feeling right now?
A little winded. I saw that white flag, and I was just, you know, so happy to be up front. man, I was really nervous, and then Josh went inside when we both fell. The only thing I think about is picking that bike up before it stalled, so it was actually good, and I'm glad to be up here after all this hard work and stuff, so.
Well, thanks for giving us one of the most entertaining 125 races we've seen in a long time. Congratulations on second place.
Thanks. I'd like to thank everyone at Amsoil, Factory Connection, Honda, Napster, Shift, my mechanic, Naveen, my dad, my mom, everyone for helping me out. Thanks.
All right, get on the podium. All right, Brian. All right, our congratulations to both of those kids. And fellas, we're going to take a look at the results here right now, but I believe we're going to possibly get another chance to take a look at that. Hansen and Grant, with all due respect to everybody else, that was the race, folks, but the championship is going to really go upside down. Josh Hansen, unofficially and very much by our own math, will be the new point leader. Here are the names of the men who finished all the way down. Look at Grant Langston in 15th position. Big problem for his championship challenge. And Davi Millsaps at 18th, even worse. We do have the points now. We'll be able to show you how the championship goes as Greg Schnell and Matt Walker, who had a horrible night, round out the top 22 finishers. Here it is. 2 points back now instead of 7 points up on Davi Millsaps is Grant Langston. Millsaps 12 points behind the leader, who is now Josh Hansen. And yes, that last lap is worth another look, fellas, and I'm just going to step back and let y'all have it.
Well, going into this, you know, David Bailey and I have had some epic battles. You know, everyone talks about the Anaheim race. We didn't take each other out. And I knew Hansen was an aggressive kid, and he was going to go for it. Grant leaves the door open, and bang, they both go down. And next thing you know, they're both scrambling to get their bikes up. And Hansen picks it up, but notice he has to hold the clutch with one hand, switch it, and the bike still gets going.
That's just so amazing. I mean, those guys were absolutely exhausted, and yet they were so quick to get to those bikes and keep them running. Look at Josh, comes to the inside thinking, oh, this could be clean, but Josh had no idea, and he saw it kind of late. He couldn't avoid the collision. Those lappers are like, what in the world is going
David,
on?
Avoid the collision. I think he was looking for it. I've been in that position racing against you where, okay, maybe if I can take him out, I can rest the last half a lap. So I think that's what he was going for.
And I think the most amazing thing to me was that they each got on the correct motorcycle and kept going again in all that confusion. We'll be right back with more from Daytona.
Speed Channel's coverage of AMA Supercross racing from Daytona. Brought to you by Suzuki, maker of performance-driven motorcycles, scooters, and all-terrain vehicles. And by Progressive Motorcycle Insurance. Call 1-800-PROGRESSIVE or visit progressive.com for a free quote. Back at Daytona, the Supercross presented by Honda. Crowd getting all fired up here for the main event of the evening, the 250 final, and Ricky Carmichael's potential rendezvous with history on a track that has lived up to its billing here this evening. Because the circuit at Daytona is unique, it always gets a lot of attention. Gary Bailey was a pioneer of this sport, rode in the first Daytona Supercross. That was relatively late in his career, and it wasn't called Supercross back then. He retired, he started a motocross school, and he began making the lives of the competitors miserable by designing the Daytona course. He's done it now for 30-odd years, and we spent a few minutes talking to the professor about the challenge of building the track and the challenge it presents to the riders.
Well, I've been building the Daytona track for 35 years, and it's fun because it's Daytona. 35 years is a long time to be doing anything, much less building the track. But it's a lot of fun coming here and building it and just being involved with the Speedway and seeing the way it's changed in the years. That's probably the biggest thing is when we first started building this track was actually built with a motor grader and a little front end loader and a lot of shovels and a lot of handwork.
The brainchild of Bill France Sr. and the professor, Gary Bailey, the inaugural Daytona race back in 1971 fell to Husqvarna's Brian Kenny. It was considered an outdoor motocross. In fact, the 72 and 73 races at Daytona paid points toward the AMA Motocross Championship. 4 years into its history, 1974, the Daytona Round opened a new series called the AMA Supercross Championship. But no matter what it's called, the Daytona Classic has always smiled on a special kind of rider.
The guys that win here are the tough ones. They're the guys that are tough. They're the guys that are physically fit, and it's pretty much been through, I mean, hey, we got Ricky Carmichael, who's pretty much dominated this thing here pretty well, and Jeff Stanton, who dominated here. And if I had more more to say about exactly how it was built. I would actually build it a little tougher and throw in a couple of obstacles. I remember the old days when if there was a sheer wall there, nobody complained about it. Nobody whined. Nobody, you know, today everybody's like, well, it's not just like the other ones, and it's not perfect. And it's, but I don't know, never know that everything had to be exactly perfect, you know? I mean, if it's different and it's more of a challenge, so as long as it's safe, that's my thing. I want to build it as tough as possible, but as safe as possible.
The configuration and surface ensure that the Daytona Supercross will be unlike any other on the circuit. That makes the track and its builder an easy target for the critics.
I decided to soften it up, and I heard more complaining that one year that I softened it up from the riders going, what's the matter, Bailey? You getting soft in your old age and da-da-da-da-da. And I thought, well, you know what? That's the last time I think I'm ever going to hear that. So I'm going to make sure that I try and keep it just as rough as possible. So they seem to always complain at first when they first get here and they're walking the track and they complain about it. At the end of the day, most people are going, hey, you know what? The track come out pretty good. It's actually pretty nice. I kind of liked it. You know, and you know, the interesting thing was when my son David was racing, every year he'd get here, he hated the racetrack. He'd always go, Dad, do you want to change this? I go, I'm building the racetrack, you're racing, shut up.
Long, rough, and sandy, the Daytona layout is a unique challenge on the Supercross circuit, and Bailey puts the emphasis on challenge.
I like to try and build things a little bit different than all the other Supercrosses, just for the fact that I want to see how the guys handle those situations differently. So, and I always want to try and keep it Daytona. I don't ever want to try and get it exactly like the other Supercrosses if it's all possible. My sand whoops are definitely the personalized thing, and I usually build at least 2 sections of them, sometimes 3, and trying to make them a little bit of a variety.
For Bailey, this is all sort of personal. He raced Daytona the first 4 years it ran. A decade later, in 1984, he watched his son David win the big race. Last year, he presided over the first night race in Daytona Supercross history. And tonight, as this American classic celebrates another anniversary, we say thanks to the professor, Jerry Bailey, for 35 years of great memories.
What's going to happen when I'm not building anymore at Daytona? I don't really know. It'll probably change when I'm not building it because somebody's going to come in with a whole new, different idea of how you build things and you know, how the layout is. I just have no idea. It's an interesting thought, but I know one thing. Me and my buddy Don Flaner that helps me build the track, we decided that the first year that I'm not building the Daytona track, we're coming to Daytona and we're going to be the full-on spectators. We're going to just come out and just have a great time and just bring our street bikes down here and really enjoy what Bike Week is really all about.
On those bull tacos back in the day or on the bulldozer these days, that guy has made some huge contributions to this sport, and we are abundantly blessed with Bailey's, aren't we? We have that one who built the track, and we have his son David up in the booth. What do you think, guys? What kind of job has he done this year?
Oh, I love it, you know, and as like he said, it's so true, and it's funny that I love hearing him say, shut up, because I totally remember that, and actually that was the year that I won, but typically, like you said, you walk the track, and you're like, yeah, it could be a little wider here, this could have been different. This year is the best track that I've ever seen.
Well, as we're watching the last chance qualifier, Carl Lewis is in second place. I love Daytona. This was the most international event. You got people from all over. It's not just a Supercross. It's not just a motocross. This is Bike Week. This is where you got people on Ducatis, Harley Davidsons, people from all over in the stands watch and love motorcycling. We get to perform in front of them. Also, like Gary said, if you win here, it meant you were a tough guy, and it kind of gave you a badge of being a man. I was fortunate enough to win this race twice. David and I had some great battles, and like Gary says, you know, everybody whines about something. You know, if you like big jumps, you want big jumps. I like the whoops, so I was happy about the whoops. So, you know, all in all, this year it's one of the best tracks because the gods worked with him. You know, he built the track. It rained the past 2 days, and then today the sun came out, so it made the jumps hard. The sand hold all the water. So we are ready for the best, I would say, the best Supercross at Daytona we've had in a long, long time.
The crowd certainly seems to enjoy it, and for someone like me that doesn't have as much experience as you fellas, I took a lot of stock in what Chad Reed said that a lot of the tracks, and Ricky Carmichael, that a lot of the tracks are similar. This one is the one that's different.
And as we talked about, exactly, this one's different. It's fast, it's physical, but Chad Reed, who's known for a technical Supercross style, was 2.5 seconds faster in his heat race time than Ricky Carmichael. So Ricky hates that, David. You know how bad he hates to lose, and you said he was doing an acting job. So what's Ricky Carmichael going to do to make up that 1/10 of a second per lap that he was losing to Chad Reed?
Whatever it takes. That's what Ricky, it's what makes him so exciting. That's what made Travis Pastrana so exciting when he was doing well and winning championships in the 125 East Supercross and 125 Nationals. And Bob Hanna, you know, it's Ricky figures out a way in the moment to raise his game, rise to the occasion. And, you know, Rick, I can remember a lot of times watching you in practice thinking, man, he's not going to have a good night. And then he'd hole shot the main and walk away from us. Ricky could do the same thing.
Okay, guys, we got a last chance qualifier going on out on the racetrack, but we also had semis that helped complete the field here, and we've got highlights of those races. So let's share them with the fans at home here on Speed.
The first semi was loaded with plenty of talent. Watch as they come into the first corner, lots of bumping around. Kyle Lewis getting bumped off the track by Mike Young, but it was eventually number 103, Sebastien Tortelli, who would take over. Tyler Evans up in there.
Here we got Sebastien Tortelli down the outside. Mike Young makes a small mistake, but he comes back. Sebastien forcing him out a little bit, pinching a little bit, but here's where the difference is. Sebastien triples where Mike Young doubles, but watch Sebastien blows the speed off the pegs. He is a tough kid. I've worked with him a long time. Sebastien gets out in front.
This was a set up. Kyle Lewis going off the track, almost hitting our pit reporter Greg White down there, and that was set up because it was Tyler Evans who wasn't able to double through that section properly and threw everybody off behind him. Watch Evans coming back right here. Makes his time back up, gives Mike Young a little nudge right there. You don't mess with Tyler Evans for that final transfer spot.
Definitely, but it was a French revolution out front with Sebastien Tortelli and his RMC Suzuki 450 pulling home semi number 1.
And the French tradition continued in the second semi as David Vuillemin looked like he was able to pull the whole shot.
We'll get to that in a moment as we take a look at the 5 riders who qualify out of semi number 1. Here is the second one, and you've already given away the finish, but here's how they got there.
Eric Vallejo, very strong Mexican rider, getting out and getting the whole shot. Eric's been very great. He gets up there. David Vuillemin coming in the inside and showing why he's one of the fastest riders in the world.
I was a little bit surprised that he wasn't able to get that transfer spot when he needed it.
Alof making a big swap, but holding it together. You can see how the track is coming down. And here's Damon Huffman passing Eric Vallejo for second position. These guys are going back and forth. Once again, you want to get as far forward as you can so that you have that better starting position. But once again, it was David Vuillemin.
Yeah, I was surprised he didn't get the position in the heat race because he was riding well, and he showed it there in the semi. Watch this action for the final spot.
Isaiah Johnson and DeHaan going back and forth, but Isaiah Johnson getting up, jumping on his bike. He went around the bell, but he did not make up a position, and that was the final qualifying position out of semi number 2.
And here are the results with Vuillemin, Huffman, Vallejo, Olhoff, and Johnson all making it into the main event. The last chance qualifier going on right now will complete the field here, but we are definitely beginning to build the anticipation for that 250 main, and it looks like all the main players are in it. Quite a few of the road racing guys and even some of the dirt trackers you can see standing around watching the races. This is the hottest ticket in town, and now we're looking at action from the last chance qualifier. A pass for the lead as Lewis goes by Plotz.
Plotz has not been running strong this year, but Kyle Lewis getting his nose in there. They're going back and forth. This will be a big win for Plotz if he wins it. They're both qualifying position, and Plotz brings home the victory. You can see it doesn't matter if it's a last chance. If you win a race in a Supercross, especially as deep as this field is, Plotz can definitely hold his head up because he did a great job.
And that completes the field for tonight's main event, and congratulations to all of the riders who are in it. We'll be back to present them to you after this.
With a big points lead and a lot of confidence, Yamaha's Chad Reed was the easy pick for last year's Daytona Supercross win. 4-time winner Ricky Carmichael sidelined with injury, so this marks the first time in a long time the race lacked a previous winner. It was an opportunity for Reed to break new ground and demonstrate his prowess on this non-traditional Supercross layout, but his big lead took a big hit right here. Crashed heavily, but never lost the lead, got back up in a lot of pain, and recovered for his first ever Daytona Supercross victory. That extended his point lead toward the eventual championship. The runner-up honors went to Kevin Windham, who battled teammate Mike LaRocco for the last 2 spots on the podium.
That was then, and this is now. Chad Reed does have Ricky Carmichael to contend with, and as the Daytona Supercross by Honda gets ready to go with the 250 main event, let's take a look at our progressive starting grid. It'll go across the top of the screen as Ricky Carmichael takes us around the track with his helmet cam.
Ricky Carmichael, and an interesting fact, he has led 140 laps here at Daytona. Chad Reed has led 24.
An amazing statistic that somewhat reflects the situation in the championship. We're on board with Ricky Carmichael right now.
Correct, Dad. It was for the season. My bad. Ricky Carmichael has led 140 laps this year, and Chad Reed 24 with Kevin Windham 8.
Nice look at those ruts coming out of that corner right before the finish line. Those ruts are in every corner, and the cool thing about it is sometimes the sand can form a one-line deal, and everywhere you look in the corners, there's several lines, plenty of places to pass. So if Ricky or Chad get together in the first corner and don't get the starts they want for whatever reason, they can come through the pack.
And with that, let's go down to Greg White before we get started.
Well, Chad Reed did have the quicker heat, so he got to pick his gate. And where does he choose? Way on the outside. So where does Ricky Carmichael set up? Well, just 2 gates over. A little bit of gamesmanship heading into turn 1. Well, David, Ricky, you could tell me better than I could tell myself.
Well, I'll tell you what, Greg. Anytime that David Bailey, when I was racing for him for the championship in '86, if he started, 4 from the inside, I was 3. Why? I wanted to go into the first turn, take him out, get him confused with the last 2 guys. And here you look at the 2 of them. You got Chad Reed all the way on the inside, but you got Ricky Carmichael just out a little bit. Is he going to try to stuff him to the inside? You know, there's going to be a physical game. You can say that you're out there to race the track, but these 2 guys have lapped a lot of times everybody all the way up to 3rd place.
And may I point out that number 5, Mike LaRocco, is in between them. Not a man to be a little bit meek going into turn 1 either.
You know what seems to happen too, and I don't think this is by design or anything, but every time Chad Reed and LaRocco get together, it ain't good.
Yeah, it's definitely not.
Yeah, and it's got to be on their minds a little bit, and Ricky's probably thinking, good, you guys go ahead and take yourselves out, and I'll just go ahead and go around the first corner first.
Here's some fun facts. This race has been held for 35 years. We knew that from the feature earlier. Honda has swept the podium 3 times. And like in 125, the Daytona winner has ended up being the titleist 15 times out of all the years it's been held. 17 different winners have won, but no one has ever won on 3 different brands. Well, that could change here, in the near future. And then you can see that there are a number of riders, including Staten, who got their one and only win here at Daytona. It is something of a specialist. Lots of guys have never won here, and there are their names, including Mike LaRocco, who makes his 14th start here without a win as we get set to go.
Advantage
250 main.
To that inside, Brian, is that I don't think Ricky or Chad or LaRocco, for that matter, need to get there first. They just got to get there in a decent position, even mid-pack, and they can tuck it around the inside. The board is sideways.
We're getting set to go here for the 250 main event. And the gate is down. Pretty even start right across. It's an Oklahoma land rush, but it's in Florida. We're looking from on board with Ricky Carmichael. He makes up a few spots on the inside. Not in the lead, but he's still upright.
Chad Reed with the lead.
Chad Reed getting out front. Mike LaRocco second. Actually, Travis Preston in second. Now Ricky Carmichael in 3rd. So we're getting set up for a great main event. And here goes Ricky Carmichael. And they're both swapping by Mike LaRocco, ending up out of the wood in 2nd place.
Carmichael almost going down. A beautiful save. Looked a lot like St. Louis last week. That kid is so strong. That could have been the end of the race for him, and he held on once again.
He leaps into 2nd position, but LaRocco's not giving up. Carmichael always seems to enjoy at least the role of the hunter rather than the hunted, although he's not bad out front either.
Well, you know what's interesting is Reed in his interview said, I want to beat Ricky Carmichael at his game on an outdoor track at Daytona where he's such a specialist, 4 wins in a row, going for 5. Chad Reed's got the lead. He had the faster heat. He had the faster lap time. He was the first guy to do the triple. They're approaching. Carmichael has got to run him down now, and he can do it. But this is what everybody came here to see. Stage is set.
A big lead for Chad Reed right now, putting a lot of pressure on Ricky Carmichael, and we've seen Carmichael trying to run Reed down and make a mistake in the process. We've also seen him make mistakes out front. It's a pressure-filled situation.
Right as we came onto that shot, Chad Reed was swapping through the whoop. So it doesn't matter if you're within 5 to 6 seconds at this racetrack, one mistake, and it's going to take that much to gather your stuff back. We saw Grant Langston go down. We saw Davi Millsaps go down. It's not always the fastest guy. A lot's going to happen. Let's watch this. Watch Ricky Carmichael manipulate this course.
I love being a fly on his helmet, trying to chase Chad Reed there with that onboard camera. And there is Carmichael. A good tight look at him. Just 2 seconds in front is Chad Reed the last time they crossed the start-finish.
What's got to be on their minds right now is Atlanta, where Chad had the whole shot. Ricky was able to catch and pass him, fell down, and had a little bit more of a gap than this to make up, and was able to make it up. Chad was disgusted. He's going, man, I had it handed to me, and I just didn't ride like I wanted to. Here he has an opportunity to try to turn that around.
Well, if we're looking at lap times, the first lap, Chad Reed with a 55.9, Ricky Carmichael with a 56.1, and then Michael LaRocco with a 57.4. So these two riders are setting up to get out in front. And we got to remember, though, these guys are going to be going through lappers, so anything can happen. Don't look at Chad Reed's lead right now and think the race is over.
He has increased his lead, however, and Carmichael is not gaining on him, at least for the moment. Any thoughts about why that might be happening?
He just doesn't. It looks like he's trying to make it happen. He wants this win so bad. Sometimes when you try a little bit too hard, like Rick, you alluded to a little earlier, and you just can't do that on this racetrack. And if Chad can get a little bit of a flow going, relax just a little bit without having Carmichael reeling him in, I think he's going to go even faster. But it looked like that lap, actually, Carmichael made up some time.
Couple of tenths, not much. So we're talking about inches here, and he needs yards.
Definitely, but it's going to be these whoops that are going to make the difference. And you watch both of them swapping and going side by side. You know, this race is just shaping up. And like I said, I can't emphasize enough. Right now, they're an open track. Everything's going, and they can ride the line that they want to ride. But let me tell you, there's been a couple occasions where they've lapped everybody all the way up to third place. So the race is just starting to unfold.
Yeah, Ricky is starting to find his groove now. Sorry, Brian. He's definitely found his rhythm, and I guarantee you Reed can feel that pressure. So it's kind of an Atlanta deal all over again. If Chad Reed tightens up, Ricky's going to win this easily.
Reminiscent of Atlanta, but this one is far from over. Will it be deja vu all over again, or Bujade doing something now they might do again?
Speed Channel coverage of the Daytona Supercross is brought to you by Kawasaki, the leading edge of power, performance, exhilaration. And by Parts Unlimited. We support the sport.
You have been riding on board with Ricky Carmichael. Chad Reed is that dot in the distance. And fellas, I have to ask both of you, would you rather follow or lead at this point in this race? Which is the advantageous position?
Right now, I would definitely want to be Ricky Carmichael, because you're watching Chad Reed, who he knows had a faster lap time and had a faster heat, so he can try different lines, try inside, try out, and he's getting facts of which is faster. Chad Reed, on the other hand, has to try something, and it could be a big mistake and lose that lead. Ricky Carmichael is slowly inching away at it, so I would choose rather to follow the lead. David?
Yeah, I think that's going to, right now I'd rather be Chad, but when they get into lappers, I'd rather be Carmichael, and that's going to happen here pretty quick. You know, Carmichael has definitely found his rhythm. He's definitely putting the pressure on. Chad can feel it, but that last lap, he held his gap. Carmichael looks a little shakier, actually, but he always does.
And I find that particularly interesting because in road racing, which we're also doing here, you want to be the first guy through the lappers. You're saying the second guy. Why?
Well, what happens a lot of times is, you know, the lap riders don't realize the leaders are coming up as fast as they are, and the blue flag comes out, and they don't get out of the way as easily as they do once they see the leader come by. They're like, oh, okay, it's the leaders. I definitely got to get out of the way, and it usually kind of yields a little bit better to the guy in second place.
The two riders coming up on the first lap rider that they've caught at speed. There's been a couple riders that have gone down that they've passed passively, but now Jason Thomas is coming up. He has to just move over and let him by, but sometimes you can't get out of the way. You get stuck in those ruts.
Oh.
Right there, you see how close and tight it is. The Daytona track, when it gets the deep ruts and that's your only option, sometimes you end up banging into the lap riders.
See him jump right over that hay bale right there. I mean, they're doing whatever they got to do to try to find a smooth or a little bit faster line. And you know, I think what Chad's got to do here is just not leave an opening. You know, I think he can put up with the pressure. I think he's got the fitness to go the distance. He just cannot leave the door open. If he goes wide anywhere, Ricky's going to shove it in.
So as the track continues to change, it's almost like riding in the woods. Definitely. You got to find your line different every lap almost.
But it's unbelievable. Let's just listen to what Ricky Carmichael is doing and watch how he catches Chad Reed.
Coming up on him now, that's for sure, as Carmichael and Reed are on the same berm, and the distance between them you can see on the screen. On the clock, it's less than a second. It was up to 2.5 at one point. Here it comes. Ricky Carmichael inching up towards him, and traffic is beginning to play itself out.
This is the closest Carmichael has been the whole race. Chad can feel it. The crowd's on its feet. They're making noise. The crowd is in it. This is the biggest challenge ever since Ricky's won this race that he's ever had.
Okay, let's just watch this for a lap. You don't need a commentator to see what's going on.
Talked about how Chad couldn't leave the door open anywhere. He took the furthest inside line to that corner yet, because he could feel Ricky's pressure.
I have to tell you folks, this is the best helmet cam I've ever seen. I can actually, it reminds me of when I used to ride. I just didn't go this fast. It's unbelievable how they're jumping side by side. These two guys, these are the best in the world right now, and they are hard.
Ricky almost going down the biggest swamp, trying to chase him down right there.
I can't decide if I need, some sort of depressant or just Dramamine. We're at halfway right now as Chad Reed continues to lead Ricky Carmichael. We're going to have to take a quick commercial break. You know how it is here in the US of A. We'll be right back, and we promise you won't miss a thing. We're back.
Once again, Brian, Chad taking that far inside line. He must have heard what I said.
Well, the one thing that you got to watch, because here at Daytona with this sand, you can't sit in someone's roost too long, because no matter how good your goggles are and they run a laminated tear off, you still eat a lot of roost. But Ricky Carmichael never waits. Like sometimes I would like to pressure, if I got behind David, I'd want to push on him a little bit to maybe frustrate him. Ricky Carmichael, if there's a door open, he takes the first chance and just runs with it.
Yeah, he doesn't hesitate. Same with James Stewart. Both those guys, they never hesitate. And that pressure is so difficult to deal with. Rick, when I had you on me, or Bob Hanna, you were the only two guys that ever really bothered me that bad. And Chad has done an outstanding job at holding this pressure off. He's got a gap now because Ricky made a mistake trying to run this pace.
Yeah, we had a really good close-up of Chad going through the whoops, and in the background, Ricky Carmichael swaps and loses about 2.5 seconds. So that's what I'm talking about. Don't think that a lead of under 10 seconds is going to make a difference.
You know how I was able to finally deal with the pressure with you is watch Ricky's mistake. Probably going to get a little bit cross-rutted. That's what he did the first lap. Actually a little bit worse. That save right there doesn't surprise me at all, but what happened was he lost a lot of time. And going back to the pressure and how to deal with it, if you think about how many laps are left, it's too overwhelming. So I used to just think, if I could just hold you off one more lap, and I was in the clear, maybe I'd get a gap, and that's what's happened for Chad. Now he can relax just a little bit.
A very similar race that David, you and I had in Japan, where we had a lot of lappers. We ran a GP, and the lappers determined the outcome. You'd get a lap, you catch a lapper, I catch you, I get a lead, same thing. So now Ricky Carmichael is stuck behind Tyler Evans, and you can see the gap of about 2.5 seconds of the split between the two riders.
The last lap, Reed turned a 56.6, Carmichael a 57, probably because of the mistake. They've got almost a 19 or 20-second lead now over third place. LaRocco is holding off Vuillemin, and Preston rounding out the top 5. We promise there's other riders in this race. This is just too good.
And we asked, of course, Greg White specifically asked Ricky Carmichael, when do you start racing points? Are we seeing that happen right now, or is he still on the chart?
He will throw the title away because he wants to win this so bad. You know what's important? I was talking to a friend of mine today, and I'm going, if Chad Reed can win Daytona, that would be a huge upset. On paper, Chad's just as good in the sand and all that. But I think everybody here would agree it would be a huge upset. And my friend goes, dude, it's Gettysburg. Whoever wins this race could win the war.
Exactly. That's what we've seen historically. 15 times the Daytona winner has come out the Supercross 250 champion. You're watching Chad Reed with our Rhino Cam riding alongside him on the racetrack there. We've got so much great action here and so many ways to look at it. Reed has definitely maintained. He has increased the lead again to 2 seconds, partially because of Carmichael's mistake, but this is just too close to call just yet, and we got 7 more laps of it.
All it takes is one little swap in the whoops, one little flash of a wheel, and Ricky Carmichael's going to be back on Chad Reed's wheel. So the race is not over. And like David said, this could decide the title. You know, if Chad beats Ricky, he could get flustered. I don't see him. I've seen a lot of guys beat him, and I don't see him get too sideways when it comes to an overall championship. But
you never see him be beat at Daytona.
Exactly.
That's a different deal.
You know, you watched Kevin Windham beat him a little bit 2 years ago in the outdoors, and that frustrated him, and also when Chad beat him a little bit in the Supercross. But right now, like I said, the lappers are going to play a big part in this race.
We'll be right back with more from the Daytona Supercross by Honda. The 2 leaders are a 1.5 seconds apart. Everybody else is nowhere to be seen. Here we are, and the battle is still on. It is still just over a second difference between the 2 leaders. Chad Reed and Ricky Carmichael are 22 seconds ahead of the third-place rider, Mike LaRocco, David Vuillemin. The running order is on the top of your screen, and folks, you're going to have to be satisfied with that for the moment, because we're going to watch these 2 guys race, and you are sitting on top of Ricky Carmichael's helmet.
Second place last year, Kevin Windham has now moved into the top 5, but nowhere near these guys. I mean, we could go back in the pack and show you some of that, but there's not much of a battle. And you know what? This is what the season is about. Ricky Carmichael and Chad Reed. Chad Reed putting it to him on Carmichael's track.
Ricky Carmichael making a small mistake in that rhythm section and losing more time to Chad.
Nice save by Chad Reed.
No, he got stalled out a little bit, though, and lost some time there. So Carmichael, maybe it's going to come down, fellas, to the one who makes the fewest mistakes at this point. One mistake might not be enough.
They're so on the edge right now, and they cannot go any faster than this without paying a huge price for it.
Here we look at Carmichael. What he does is he gets off of this, and he gets off rhythm a little bit, and he faces that jump. Loses a lot of time, but Ricky Carmichael's so strong, so physical, it really doesn't make that big of a difference. He loses time, but he doesn't injure himself.
I wonder what would happen just a moment ago as they lapped Tim Ferry. Carmichael, you can see just passing the rider in the blue back there, number 15, Tim Ferry. Of course, Chad Reed's teammate. I wondered if he would put up a little bit of resistance, but he didn't.
Ricky Carmichael casing that triple again, so Ricky having a lot of trouble in that rhythm section, and Chad Reed squeaks out a little more space.
Let's go to Greg White.
Well, I'm standing down here in Mechanics Alley where all the pit boards come out, and last time Ricky Carmichael came by, his foot got caught and kicked back when he was going through a rut. And as he was going by, he was shaking his head, so not a good sign when a rider's shaking his head, right, fellas?
Well, definitely. Ricky Carmichael frustrated because Chad Reed is making less mistakes. You made a good point, Brian. It's going to be who makes the least amount of mistakes at this race, because a track this fast, this edgy, you're going to make mistakes. It's who makes the least amount.
We're inside 4 laps to go, David Bailey.
Carmichael's running out of time. He's got such a huge gap to make up. It's going to take a major mistake from Chad Reed at this point, or some sort of a miracle from Ricky Carmichael, which would see.
Oh, there's the mistake. It's not Reed, it's Carmichael that does it. He's got plenty of time to pick the bike up. Does he have enough to get it started? Is he going to get passed by anyone out there? LaRocco on the number 5 machine is the next man back, but it was 30 seconds. So Carmichael returns to the track, still in second place.
Probably not going to have a rear brake either with all that plastic melting onto the disc. It's on the right side of the wheel, caught up in there. He's not going to give up second place. They've got such a huge gap, but the win, I think he can kiss that goodbye now. Chad Reed has put him away.
He's still got a part of that flag caught in his wheel. Take another look at what happened.
He starts to swap side by side, loses it, hits one of the hay bales, goes down, and then down hard on the asphalt. You can see the banner start to suck up into his rear wheel, and as David was saying, is on the right side. We watch, he loses, swaps sideways, loses the front wheel, back wheel, then over the bales, and down he goes.
You know what's cool, though? Look how long he hung on to that. He hung on till the pavement, going, maybe I can save it, maybe I can save it. He's done it so many times before. The Chad Reed pace, which he started in the first practice session this afternoon, edging Ricky Carmichael for the fastest lap, the fastest heat. He put the pressure on, and Ricky had to answer it, and he just couldn't quite get it done.
I have to ask, how does having that flag, and may I point out that it's a Honda flag stuck in the Suzuki, how does that affect Ricky Carmichael's race right now?
Well, what happens is as we're talking about, it gets into the back brake rotor, and what it does is the plastic melts. What it does, it glues the brake pads. So the brake pads lose their adhesive, so Ricky Carmichael basically has no rear brake, has to use just his front, and he has to be very complacent and just finish finish the race.
Well, the bad news for Ricky Carmichael is that he's probably not going to win the Daytona Supercross. The good news is he had a fairly substantial championship points lead, and maybe he'll take some consolation from that after this race is over.
Well, we still got to look at how many races Ricky's won this year, and he's not going to win the Daytona Supercross, but you have to understand, when he lost that race in San Diego, he bounced back and beat Chad, went straight to him. So, you know, here we've seen Chad Reed beat, or Ricky Carmichael beat Chad on a technical Supercross track, and now we've seen Chad Reed beat Ricky Carmichael. But you know what, though? This race isn't over. With lappers and with the way people go down, anything still can happen.
Let's give credit where credit is due. Here's your leader, Chad Reed. He is, as they say, the man tonight.
You know, what I think is interesting is you know, when Chad Reed stands on the podium, you know, people are telling me, oh, man, he looks like he's going to cry. He looks beaten. He doesn't look beaten. He just looks mad because he's putting in so much work during the week, as much or more than Ricky Carmichael's were into the final lap. So when he doesn't, you know, win the race, and Carmichael does, he's over it, man, and he's finally
about it.
Stayed, you know, just tenacious enough, like he was last year in the outdoor season. Even though Ricky had a perfect season, Chad came back with a whole renewed confidence, going, I think I can do this. And he couldn't do it. This persistence and perseverance, and probably Jeff Spencer in his corner, has helped him so much to be able to put Ricky away on Ricky's turf.
So would you say, David, that Chad is getting it done?
Put it out the window.
Whatever you like, he is definitely doing the business out here tonight. Chad Reed on his Yamaha, the defending Daytona Supercross 250 winner, is going to make it 2 in a row. And as he comes around the last few corners, this crowd is going to erupt in a huge celebration. Chad Reed becomes only the 6th rider to win Daytona back-to-back, and he has done it here in front of a huge crowd, and you know how happy this young man is going to be. Chad Reed, the defending Supercross champion, has backed it up with a win at Daytona 2 years in a row.
Major upset.
You said it early in the broadcast, if he could win, it would be. He did, and it is. There is Ricky Carmichael coming to the finish line. It's going to be a second-place finish for Carmichael. He was able to recover, get the bike back up, and finish anyway. And now Ricky Carmichael has finished, and there is Chad Reed celebrating already.
Yeah, Ricky Carmichael's a rider, though, that'll give a dog his day. You know, he'll tell Chad Reed, good job, you know, you beat me straight up. And Ricky made some mistakes, Chad made some mistakes, but as you said, Brian, it's who made the least amount, and actually who didn't make the biggest one.
We can say it now, or I can ask the question, was this a must-win situation for Chad Reed?
I definitely think it was a must-win, and you can see, you know, Ricky saying, hey, good job, you know, you did it, but it was a big win for Yamaha, big win for Chad Reed. You know, this was beating Ricky Carmichael in his backyard.
A beautiful moment of sportsmanship that the crowd here at Daytona has appreciated. Chad Reed is going to take a victory lap, and to be honest, we don't care how long it takes him to do it.
Rick, can you describe that feeling? Because I have a hard time putting it into words for people.
Well, you got to understand, you know, he's the king of the hill. When you work so hard, if you can beat Bob Hannes in a sand race, if you can beat a David Bailey in a technical Supercross track, for that moment in time, you were the best in the world. And so what Chad Reed did today is he beat the best outdoor sand rider in the world in a straight-up match. There's no excuses. Ricky Carmichael made more mistakes than Chad Reed, and Chad's going to win. He's doing a big burnout right there, a little Daytona style. And you can't explain it.
Last year, we had him come in the number 22 NASCAR, little bringing the, you know, we're at Daytona, hey, you know, and that's cool.
Chad Reed doing a burnout in a Supercross win. Only at Daytona could something like that happen, as Chad Reed exchanges high fives with the crowd along the fences here at the banking, the famous banking of the Daytona International Speedway. If there's any question about this being the world center of racing, well, today it was.
Well, we talk about guys that I think great champions are the guys that get beat and come back. And as Chad Reed has been beat by Ricky, he comes back, and as Ricky's been beat by Chad, they come back. So this night does not determine the championship, and you're not going to see Chad Reed come back and dominate the rest of Supercrosses. I can guarantee you that.
A great night for Chad Reed. We can only imagine what he is about to say. A tough night for Ricky Carmichael on the number 4 Suzuki. Take another look that you haven't seen before.
novice bike.
Not going to wait any longer to hear what Chad Reed has to say. Greg White, take it away.
Chad Reed, that was quite a race for you. I mean, the pressure was on, and you held your composure. How do you feel right now? Tell us about the race.
You know, I feel like it's, man, I should have been doing that all year long, you know. Working on my starts, working on my turns, working on the whoops, the jumps, just everything, trying to pull it together and make it happen. And tonight was the night. We got 2 whole shots tonight, and it felt good. Felt like I was challenged tonight, and that's what I need. You know, I get bored at the other races, and sometimes that messes with me, you know, and so I got to get better at that. And can't say enough for my team. They did a great job, and Daytona is a bike week, and they weren't able to win any other races. So I said, you know, it's up to me now. I was the last guy to pull off a win. So I'd like to thank them, and doing a great job. All the guys at Bridgestone, Scott, Etnies, the guys at Antmo.
Let me ask you this real quick. How big is this win in your chase for the championship right now?
You know, everybody looks at this race as being the gnarliest and toughest race of the year, and you know, we won, and that's all that counts.
Well, congratulations, Chad Reed, 2-time winner at Daytona. Brian?
All right, well, Chad Reed certainly proved himself to be the tough guy that wins on Gary Bailey's course here at Daytona. And with that, let's take a look at the results. Reed and Carmichael lost in that. Mike LaRocco, 14 career starts, 10 times in the top 5. This was his 6th podium, the Iron Man, Mike LaRocco, all the way down to the top 10. You can see Kevin Windham, David Vuillemin, nice run for him, looking good this week. Sean Hamlin rounding out the top 10 behind Short, Ferry, and Damon Huffman now beginning the next 10 riders there. Sebastien Tortelli, a pretty disappointing 20th position considering his reputation. But you know what? This is a tough race course. The 2 toughest guys on the tour, make it 3, counting Mike LaRocco, came out on top. A very enjoyable evening of Supercross racing here is now over. We're not quite done with our coverage here on Speed, but we will be back right after this.
Speed Channel's coverage of AMA Supercross racing from Daytona, brought to you by Honda, sponsor of the Daytona 200 and the performance leader in the world of motorcycle racing, and by Progressive Motorcycle Insurance. Call 1-800-PROGRESSIVE or visit progressive.com for a free quote.
The Daytona Supercross, Ricky Carmichael ending up the runner-up. He is now with Greg White. Take it away.
Well, Ricky Carmichael, that was certainly a gnarly ride. First of all, big crash. How are you feeling right now?
Everything's good, you know. Just a bummer. I felt, you know, I had a good ride going, and you know, I had what it took to follow Chad, but I just couldn't make it pass, you know. He was good in areas, and I was good in areas, and I kind of settled in and, you know, just kind of bided my time, but I waited a little bit too long, and, you know, I made a mistake, and he was a better guy tonight. I definitely got to give him a hand. He was, he kicked the crap out of me tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I know you wanted to win your 5th in a row. How are you really feeling right now about this?
Disappointed for sure, you know. Nobody likes to get second place, or at least I don't, but you know what, you go home and you work hard for the next weekend, and you know, we're looking at a 16-race, 18-race series here, and I'm still looking good. You know, I can't say enough for Makita Suzuki, the bike, the team, everything. Everybody is great. You know, I need to hold my end of the bargain up.
All right, well, congratulations on 2nd place. Ricky Carmichael. Brian?
All right, as we take a look at the championship points, holding his end up, I don't know. I don't think anyone would accuse him of not doing that, but what a great and very humble athlete. I just got beat today. I love to hear that. Chad Reed, 32 points back. He made up a few, but it's going to take a much bigger mistake than we saw here tonight by Carmichael for Reed to make up more than that, as long as they finish 1st and 2nd. Windham, LaRocco, and Vuillemin, the top 5 in the championship points. And as the podium celebrations continue down there, fellas, I mean, I'm just, it's unbelievable what happened in front of us here tonight in both races. Let's talk about this one.
Well, the 125 class was so good, right down to the very end, and so many surprises there. All the 3 guys we highlighted at the top of the show having a horrible night, dropping back into points. A couple of Joshes getting up in there and winning the thing, and I thought, well, the 250's got a lot to live up to now. I didn't think we could have 2 main events that good, but what a treat.
Oh, it really was a privilege. Ricky?
Well, for me, it's been a pleasure. You know, I mean, David, Bailey, and I got to bank bars year after year, and then I did some TV, and then he did some TV. It was easy to sit up here and listen to his perspectives and go back and forth, but, you know, everything worked out great. The sun was shining here on Bike Week. More and more bikes are coming in, so Saturday is going to be a great place for for me and my dad to go out for a ride on the motorcycles up and down the coast. Ricky Carmichael, like he said, he's a man's man. He says, I got my butt kicked today, but he's going to go home and work. That guy works on corners, works on braking, works on jumps. He goes back to the basics. His mom does a great job with his training, going, okay, this is where you were weak over the weekend. Let's work on that. His trainer, Eldon, everybody, he's got a great support group that he's going to go back and try to capitalize on his mistakes. And as David said, Chad Reed has Jeff Spencer to work with him.
All right, let's go back down to Greg White with the Rock.
Yeah, Mike LaRocco, third place. Congratulations. Tell us about your race.
Well, I got a good start. You know, I was out there with, you know, Chad and Ricky, and just tried to find the pace, but they're going fast. I mean, they've been going fast all year, and I'm trying to learn something. You know, I'm the old dog trying to find those new tricks, but you know, it was a good race to see our, you know, the Amstel Factory Connection Honda worked good tonight. I mean, it got me a good start and went well on tag. I just got to find a way to pick it up.
You look like you worked real hard. How gnarly was the track towards the end of the race?
I mean, track is tough. It's always tough. A little bit shorter than normal. So, you know, bearing that, not quite as grueling, but still a tough race.
All right, well, congratulations. Another podium finish for Mike LaRocco.
All right, thanks, fellas. And I knew coming into this thing, gentlemen, David Bailey and Ricky Johnson, that it was going to be a privilege and an honor to work with you. I questioned whether it was a pleasure. You have made it one of the most pleasant nights of my broadcasting life. I'd like to hear your final thoughts.
Well, Brian, it was a pleasure for me as well. It's the first time we've had a chance to work together. And Rick, you know, here we are again. It was great. You know, we were able to get our perspectives and have them be a little bit different. And, you know, it was fun to kind of get back up in here where I spent 10 years, and the racing was awesome. I don't think we could have asked for a better night or a better team up here.
Well, I look forward to doing it again with both of you, perhaps. Right now, we got to hustle out of here, and I'm going to send it down to Dave Despain.
For a quick reminder that we're right back here tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock Eastern Time. We've got the 64th running of the Daytona 200, the opening of the Superbike season. Our congratulations to Josh Hansen and his dad, Donnie, the 1982 250 national champion. The apple didn't fall far from that tree. And to Chad Reed, congratulations.